have you now.
They want to mess with my droid. They're going to pay for it.
This is the way.
You may fire when ready.
Blow that piece of junk out of the sky!
The way you're fighting, you wouldn't last long.
Hello there.
The ability to speak does not make you intelligent.
Welcome to the Star Wars Station Communication Podcast. I am your host, Carter, and today you are joining us for our very special 100th episode celebration. If you're watching on YouTube, you probably just saw for our very first time the way we're celebrating, and that is our brand new animated intro that goes along with the theme music that we've had from the get-go. We are ecstatic to have everybody here, to have this new intro, and I want to give a huge shout-out and thank you to all of our Patreon subscribers for making something like that possible. It is really, really awesome. Our Patreon community is simply the best. Our biggest supporters can usually be found over there, engaging with us and always providing new ideas for the podcast. When we started this show back in 2022, I'm not sure if either of us seriously believed that we would be able to talk Star Wars for 100 episodes. It's been countless hours of breakdowns, reactions, speculations, timelines, and history episodes that have brought us to this point. It's been a blast building up this moment, and I know that it's going to continue to be a blast as we unveil this very special 100th celebration episode to you all. In planning the 100th episode, Colin and I batted around a lot of ideas, but we wanted to do something special that exemplified what Star Wars is really about. We talk all the time on our program about what Star Wars means, about how it's about forgiveness, about how it's about a black and white struggle of good versus evil. It's about adventure, it's about dreaming big, but at the core of Star Wars, it is exemplified as the aspect of family. And that's how we want to celebrate this podcast today. Our family and friends have been so supportive of us throughout this project that we've had, and between them and you dedicated listeners, this is what keeps Star Wars Station alive and kicking. Through helping us set up and tear down at events, asking questions, guest starring, batting around ideas, sacrificing time, dedicating themselves to the RPG, other podcast episodes, and financial contributions, we have had a village help us on this podcast. So, for today, we've brought on seven very special guests to just chat Star Wars with us today. We're going to talk about our favorite moments on the podcast, we're going to debate the best films, and we're going to share their personal Star Wars stories. And we couldn't be happier to have these folks on. But helping me introduce you to our guests is this evening none other than the centenarian Syrian, the 100th Hutt, the quadruple quarter Quarren himself, Colin Archer.
Hey, man, this is quite the extravagant thing. It's way over the top. Man, good job planning this thing.
Yeah, you too. I mean, it's been a ride.
This was a big effort to put together. There's a lot of people here. There's a lot of ideas that are going to be batted around. We're going to have quite the time. I'm glad your listeners out there can enjoy this with us. So, and the guests, man, thank you all for coming.
Yeah, we really appreciate everybody being here. And we have no time to waste, so we're going to dive right into talking about the guests. We're introducing the guests in order of how long they've been a Star Wars fan. And so I think that's the most fun way to do it. So our first guest today is Brian. Brian is a longtime Star Wars fan who was around in the beginning, collecting the original toys, seeing the original trilogy in theaters, and he's been hooked ever since. Brian is also one of the minds behind our fan-favorite actual play RPG character, the Tech Whiz Tusken Raider, Q-Talk. Brian, we're really happy to have you join us today, and we've got plenty of questions for you, but the very first one is, what's your favorite Star Wars planet and why?
My favorite Star Wars planet? Well, if you'd asked me in the olden days, I probably would have said Endor, because it looked so pretty. But
yeah.
Now,
and you like the teddy bears.
Well, see, and that's the thing that makes me not like it anymore, because now I realize that they're a bunch of cannibals. Yeah, and there's probably just tons of them all over the planet. So with all of the new stuff that's been in the Mandalorian stuff, I'm starting to lean toward Tatooine, because it's getting all of the good guys. Everybody goes to Tatooine. It's like the hub of badness. I don't know what's going on there.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah. Everyone goes to Tatooine, like you said.
And Jabba's there. All the Jedi go there. All the bad guys go there.
Well, how many TV shows have we had visit Tatooine in just the last
all
few
of them,
years?
right?
Yeah, every single one. It's been in the most Star Wars movies.
And so, if not literally Tatooine, some version of
right?
Tatooine.
Yeah, basically. Yeah. What's Jakku? It's just Tatooine.
Yeah. And I'm actually surprised that was my answer, because I used to think Tatooine was boring, but now I'm just like, that's where all the cool people go.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
All right, man. This is a good friend of mine, Josh Anderson. He's a member of our RPG group. He plays Zelbrechian. He's been a Star Wars fan for longer than I've known him. We met playing the X-Wing tabletop game on there. Not just in that game, Josh, but what was your favorite ship in Star Wars, X-Wing, otherwise?
Okay, so going back old school Rogue Squadron, N64, the V-Wing. That was the best ship.
The V-Wing?
Yes, the V-Wing. V, not
V.
V.
V is in Vendetta.
Victor.
V is in Vendetta.
Yes.
V is in Asajj Ventress.
Yes.
Right?
No. So Victor V-Wing. That thing was the best. It was the only thing that had cluster missiles. You shoot them off, and they turns into 8, and they scatter, and they take out all the TIEs. It was great. And it handled like an A-Wing. It was as fast as an X-Wing when you lock the... Yeah, so V-Wing all the way. Maybe a runner-up for the Naboo fighter.
Oh, yeah, that's a sleek one.
A good one.
So do you like the Mando's fighter better than you like the Razor Crest now?
don't give me... maybe. The conflict...
Got to think about that one.
There's no droid slot in the Mando version.
Yeah, that's true. There's a Grogu slot. So our next guest here is Cy Darrow. He's the last member of our actual play RPG roster in the guest list today. And Cy has been a Star Wars fan since he was a little kid watching the Clone Wars animated series on Cartoon Network. A fan of all things prequels, clones, and lightsabers, he's an avid collector of replica sabers. So, Cy, the first question we have for you today is, what is your favorite lightsaber hilt?
Ooh, man, this was a hard one for me. I'll tell you that. There's so many good ones like Exar Kun's, Darth Bane's, Dooku's. I ended up, after a lot of thought, settling on the very unique models of Asajj Ventress's hook-handled sabers that are able to connect and disconnect, and it gives that S form. They're so flowing and they're so unique.
Yeah.
We don't see anything else like that in Star Wars, those hook handles that connected. Very visually appealing, and I love the idea of a saber that can break in two and still provide the good overhands that the hook gives you. So I ended up going with that.
Yeah, that's a super unique
good one.
Yeah, that's really,
So I have a
really
question
good.
on that. Did the guy on the Acolyte have a hook one too?
Not the hook. No, he did have his came out a little bit underneath the bottom with a little Shoto blade. Yeah, they were straight.
Yeah, very cool little deal. Our next special guest is Tristan. Tristan's a casual fan of all things Star Wars, having seen most of all the live-action Star Wars that have been released. Tristan, what is your favorite episode of Star Wars TV?
Yeah, so I'm representing the casuals on this one. No cool introduction like Colin with the 20 aliases. Yeah, so
you got to upgrade your Patreon too.
yeah, I gotta open up the wallet a little bit. No, my favorite episode of Star Wars TV is the season finale of Kenobi, and that would just be because I'm like really into the fights, right? Casual Star Wars fan. I'm into the fights.
Sure.
Modern day FX, that's important, and you get to see Darth Vader. You get to see the mask come off a little bit. They make some cool edits on Instagram. So.
Yeah. So you'd say that fight beats the Death Star 1 fight from 1977.
Slight edge, narrow margin.
Yeah.
You might get some pushback on that from
from someone. Brian might jump over the table about
that one. Drop a comment and let me know how bad that take was.
Yeah. So our next guest, Ethan Phillips. Ethan is the youngest member joining the podcast today, and he, being my cousin, has been inculcated with Star Wars mythology since birth. Coming of age during the Disney years, the only one of us here at the table that's done that. He is an ardent sequels defender, dark side supporter, and Star Wars PC gamer. So, Ethan, my question for you is, what is your favorite Star Wars game of all time?
Well, first off, thank you for having me, Carter. I'm very glad to finally be here. And as for your question, it's definitely got to be the RTS Empire at War.
Oh, yeah.
That is my by far favorite game. It is the only good RTS. And so I really hope, I know Total War has some rumors, but currently that is my number one favorite.
Yeah, I'm sure Total War will edge that out once it comes, if it comes. But yeah, Empire at War gets mentioned more than most things on this podcast. Yeah. It gets mentioned at least once a month on the podcast, so great pick.
It's not the OG Battlefront 2.
Oh, this blows that out of the water. This blows it out of the water.
I used to grind that game listening to Nickelback.
OG Battlefront 2 is really, really great, but there's some magic at Empire at War.
Our next guest is Emilio. Emilio Solis is another more casual viewer of Star Wars who has seen all the movies and, like Carter and I, has fallen completely for Andor. Emilio, one question for you today. Who was the best monologue? Who has the best monologue on Andor?
Oh, well, thank you, Colin, for that introduction. Very casual. Me and Tristan are in the same boat on that one. But but by far, and I was really glad I got this question. I really think in Andor, in episode 10 was by far my favorite episode so far. But the favorite monologue for me is by Luthen Rael. Now,
yeah, hands down.
Played by Stellan Skarsgård. He's been in Chernobyl, Dune, and now Andor. He's a phenomenal actor. This is where Lonnie is expressing that he no longer wants to be part of the rebellion, and he feels like his life is in danger. And Luthen practically scoffs at him, and he's like, "You have no idea what I've given up. I've given up calm, kindness, kinship, and love. I've given up everything, and there's no applause for me. You know, I burned my life to make a sunrise I know I'll never see." So when I hear that, it's like, wow, like the inception of the rebellion was really, really phenomenal, and everyone who sacrificed their lives for the rebellion.
You hit me right there. They should have cast you instead of No, really, that is one of the best monologues for sure. There's so many good ones, though. I mean, Andor is just great monologues, routinely.
That's kind of a heavy question asking a guy about a monologue instead of a favorite spaceship or something, right?
Yeah. Emilio got the hardball.
The casual and drop the monologue quick.
I'm the flyer. Obviously, he's the monologuer.
So our last guest today is Cassidy. Cassidy, my loving wife, is a new Star Wars fan, having never seen one before we dated. That oversight was quickly remedied, though, and in just a few short years, she has seen every Star Wars project at least once, including the Clone Wars and Rebels, and she's seen some of those more than once. She's a fan of Rebels, she's a fan of Han and Leia, and her favorite pointy-eared character. So, Cassidy, who is your favorite character?
Well, I feel like you just kind of gave it away, but it's Yoda. They told me that I can't give one-word answers, so now I have to tell you why Yoda is my favorite character. But I think he's just grandpa vibes, and he is so witty. I personally think that he's the smartest character in Star Wars. And all at the same time, he never fails to just make you laugh out loud. Like, he's just hilarious.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree.
Good answer.
Yeah, it's a great answer because you see him right on Dagobah at the very beginning with that playful attitude, but still, still making sure that Luke is the right man for the job. So I think that Yoda's a great answer.
Never afraid to put somebody
loves
in their place, you know?
Love it. So you like Yoda a lot better than Grogu?
Oh, yeah. In my mind, until Grogu's kind of like off-brand Yoda right now. He's targeted at the kids.
Oh, that is shots fired.
I'm sorry.
Wow.
It's just, he's
we did call him Baby Yoda for a long time.
I know. I mean, I love the character. I love that show, but I feel like he's kind of, I don't know.
He's cash cow.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Okay, and it's nothing negative. I'm just saying it's
nothing negative. I'm just saying I hate the character. You know?
Whatever. Moving on.
So, again, I want to thank everybody for being here today. Wanted to get those introductions out of the way. Some of you have been guests on the podcast before. Some of you, this is your first time. But we're all here for two reasons. We love Star Wars, and we love the Star Wars station. And Star Wars has been a part of my life for nearly as long as I can remember. My very first Star Wars memory is being asked on the playground in second grade if I wanted to play lightsabers. And I asked, what's a lightsaber? And so to my friend's dismay, I'd never heard of Star Wars. And from that conversation on, I'd say my life actually did change because it launched me on a lifetime crusade to absorb as much knowledge about the galaxy far, far away as I possibly could. And for many years, that eclipsed my knowledge of real-world history. And so as the saying goes, you never forget your first time. So, Colin, we're going to start with you. What is your very first Star Wars memory?
Okay, so secrets revealed. My parents were Star Trek fans,
Yeah, I think everyone who listens to this knows that.
Yeah, yeah. So I like Star Trek a lot. We didn't watch Star Wars in my house. I had to discover that at a neighbor's house, and he was playing. I think he watched Empire Strikes Back on repeat.
Mm-hmm.
And the most vivid memory I have is Darth Vader's speech, "No, I am your father," just after he lops off Luke's hand. There's nothing cooler than that scene. Almost in all movies, that whole fight, the whole movie leading up to that, it's so cool. It sticks with you. It's like core memories. In that Inside Out movie, there's an island of Darth Vader standing over Luke Skywalker. So cool.
Yeah, absolutely. I think great answer. All right, Tristan, you're next up on this one. What is your very first Star Wars memory?
Yeah, so my very first Star Wars memory was probably like my dad watched one of the OG3, and I was like, way too cool to watch some old movie like that. But really, probably an episode of the Clone Wars, like way back in the day. It was the first time I sat down and watched it. Watch some droids get their heads cut off, stuff like that. That kind of stuff does appeal to a 7-year-old.
Yeah, of course.
Cartoons especially. That's why they started making that stuff. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it is. Huge deal. Huge part
Never
of
had Star Wars cartoons till I was an adult.
Yeah, 2008. Josh, what about you?
It had to be The Empire Strikes Back, but keep in mind I was 5, maybe 4.
Sure.
So it was like I'm dredging up the memories. I'm like, I'm pretty sure I remember that first, and I probably watched A New Hope when I was younger. But like I remember that one.
Yeah.
And we were at Grandma's house and we were watching it, and no, I am your father. I remember that when I was 5.
Yeah, well,
so that was the first.
That's the big part about Star Wars, right? Is there's so many memorable scenes that stick with you to the rest of your life, like the "No, I am your father" line.
Yeah, no, but instead of no, it's like, oh, okay, he's his dad. Okay, that's cool. But then he lops off his hand. I was like, no,
not as cool.
And I was like, oh,
it was so cool to me because it's not like he had this bionic hand afterwards too.
Yes. I always, that was like some body horror for me when I was a kid. I was like, that's his hand
That
now?
was some pretty high-tech stuff for the 1980s,
Yeah, it was. Special effects there was really, really
practical effects. Yeah,
You're like, okay, that's what we want in the future.
Well, it came off of that whole Terminator thing and having that endoskeleton walk around. This is like the light side version of that, whereas the Terminator is the dark side. So it's cool to see.
I just remember they closed the compartment. I was like, okay, so much better.
Yeah, a lot less visually assaulting. All right, Emilio, you're next up. What do you think?
My first Star Wars memory was playing Battlefront on the PSP.
Oh, yeah. That's a lot of people's.
Yeah, I don't think I remember what I was doing, but I know if I had the PSP, Gus couldn't have it back because it was his. So, yeah, that was my first Star Wars memory, and I love the new games. Hopefully they come out with a new one, but yeah.
Are you going to play Star Wars Outlaws?
Yes, I will. I'll do a 24-hour live stream.
Wow, big commitment. You heard it on this podcast.
The whole game twice.
Yeah, amazing. They say it takes 25 to 30 hours to complete, so you're going to beat it in one sitting.
Might as well just do 25. It's just...
All right, well, you're going to see that on our Patreon coming up next week when the game comes out.
Good luck.
All right, Sai, you're next up. What is your very first Star Wars memory?
Oh, my very first Star Wars memory is kind of along the same lines as Josh, as it's one of my early memories in general. Father and I went to Blockbuster at the time, and we rented the entire OT, and that was my first experience. We sat on the couch, and him and I watched. He was a big Star Wars fan, too. We watched the entire OT front to back, so, of course, it broke my little heart, hearing the I am your father and everything, and I was like, oh, it's gone. But that's one that resonates with me a lot, and I'll come back to that one later in one of the later questions too. But that's my first one. I remember watching Darth Vader and Luke fight on our old TV. That was old even at the time. It was great.
That sparks a question for me that anyone can answer, but for you, Sai, do you think that when you're showing Star Wars to someone for the first time, it should be in release order or chronological order? Did showing the OT to you first have an impact?
You should watch the release order.
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
We were asked this question a few weeks
Absolutely.
ago, and by Tristan actually, and this was what we said.
To go back and to actually watch, I love chronological order. It's how I prefer to watch it. But if you're introducing someone to it, I do think it needs to be in that release order because that's how the story's set up. It's how George Lucas wanted it to be set up originally, and you have that big reveal later. I think that's really important. For that to hit home.
If nothing, there could be a technology drop off between the.
Yeah, the Zoomers in the audience you need to see the old tech.
Yeah, you get spoiled.
Know where he came from. Got to enjoy your roots. Know your roots.
I was like, that is some weird looking CGI. No, that's a model.
All right, Ethan, you're next up. What's your very first Star Wars memory?
Well, shocker, but it is with you, Carter.
Yeah.
So my oldest memory, now of course I've always known Star Wars, but when I was like 6 or 7, you stopped by around Christmas. And I don't know if you're still a defender, but you always said back then that Empire Strikes Back was the best Christmas movie.
Oh yeah, 100% still true to this day.
It's a hot topic on my side of the family.
Yeah, you watch it every. Not like that opinion.
Like in there with the diehards.
They're the diehards, huh?
Yeah.
So I remember
it's like how Harry Potter's not a Christmas movie.
Yeah.
You're in trouble.
There's a Christmas tree in Harry Potter.
There's like actual Christmas decorations.
Harry Potter is a Christmas movie. I just knew I could get red fire.
And so I remember you putting that on, and I just watched it, and ironically, I actually don't remember the Luke, no, I'm your father. I just remember the AT-ATs and the snow, because you kept talking about how it's the best Christmas movie, because it had snow. And so I eventually went online, and I found a YouTube channel called Fact Free. I think they're called The Lore Master now. And that's how I went straight to the deep end, and I fell in love with all the lore, with Legends at that time.
Good. Well, yeah, I'm glad that I could rub off on you and be your first Star Wars memory. We have we have also the defense of The Empire Strikes Back being a Christmas movie is there's an elf in it, and Yoda is the elf. So
a moldy elf.
With that segue, Cassidy, what is your first Star Wars memory?
With that segue.
Yeah, because Yoda's your favorite character. You like the elf.
Oh, that's rude.
Might as well be.
No. Okay. Well, my first ever Star Wars memory, when I was thinking about this, I was actually like struggling because it's kind of one of those things that I'm like, I don't know. I've just always known what Star Wars was. But I guess as my like actual legit first experience was probably in my adult life when Carter and I very first started dating. We were just kind of hanging out, and I think we like made a deal like, hey, I'll watch your favorite movie, no questions. If you watch my favorite movie, no questions. And I should have known, knowing him, that his favorite movie was going to be a Star Wars movie.
Which is 11.
Yeah, and so then I sit down and we're watching it, and it's over, and I'm like, okay, cool, that was cool. And then he's like, all right, well, I said Star Wars, and there's 10 more of them. 10 more, like, let's just go through your whole top 10 movie list. And I don't even think we've made it through my top 10 list yet. That was like 3 years ago.
We haven't, but well, you know what? We made it through a few of them, and so that's a very sweet first Star Wars memory. I've been involved in 2 first Star Wars memories so far.
Oh, we're making his head big.
We saved maybe. I can't say best for last because it's a memory and everyone's is good, but we saved an important one for last because we talked about how Brian was around in the beginning and he saw the Star Wars movies in theaters. And so, Brian, what is your first Star Wars movie?
Well,
and really, I want to ask you too, what's it like being a part of the Star Wars generation? Add that to your answer.
That's fantastic.
Because there's a difference.
So
there.
I predate Star Wars. So obviously my first one was just on the big screen. You had the crawl and the awesome John Williams music, and next thing you know, you got the Star Destroyer that seems like it's going on forever, and the fight, and then the big Stormtrooper battle. It was just fantastic, After that, it kind of gets a little slow, but you're just like, what? It just blows your mind. So absolutely, yeah, the Star Wars generation, that was the best because you had to wait 3 or 4 years before you got your next one.
Right.
And every Saturday morning, we got up and watched cartoons, and what did we see? Advertisements for Star Wars toys. So we're just like, oh, I need it. I want it. Yeah, it was the greatest time. It really was. It was the best.
Yeah, you can see a lot of Brian's first Star Wars generation experiences when you listen to our RPG podcast that we now record at his place, and the background is his massive Star Wars collection that started, I presume, in 1977.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What
Very
was
cool.
the hype like leading up to the first Star Wars?
Well,
like was it pretty popular before?
Okay,
release,
I was 6 years old, so I don't remember much hype.
Yeah.
What happened was my dad went and saw the movie, and he goes, "Oh, hey, I have to take Brian to go see this."
Oh, okay.
So then after that,
so,
I was just like,
so your dad
I
knew
was
about it
hooked.
for sure. Yeah.
And they didn't do trailers back then like they do now. They just showed a little splash, and this guy goes, and and then the splash and the blow up and thing, and that was it. Now they show you half the movie.
They show all the movie.
Yeah, you're like, well, I don't need to watch it now. I already saw what happened. So yeah. But no, it was just like everything was a big mystery. Everything was fantasy. It's like, well, I don't know what's going on.
That must have been something else. That was probably
Yeah,
so
it was
fun.
just so wild because it was just everything was just unknown. So everything was just a great adventure.
Imagine how crazy it would be if Star Wars was like for the first time ever released now. Like the Barbie whole like press tour, and now like Blake Lively's new movie. Yeah, like what if it was like that amount of hype? Like that'd be cool to witness.
Well, that was a lot what The Force Awakens was like. If you were a Star Wars fan when The Force Awakens, before it came out, that level of hype was something else. And I imagine for the guys who were around for The Phantom Menace, it was the same way.
Oh, that hype
It was something
ridiculous.
else. It was like electricity in the air type feeling when they even announced that movie. They're going to make more Star Wars. You thought it was fake for the longest time, and then it was the technology has come about to where we are able to make the movies that we want to make, and then the previews, the little blurbs that were happening, it was just enthralling in the extreme.
Now, The Empire Strikes Back, it had a huge one because they had Darth Vader and Boba Fett outside theaters. People in. So it got pretty big at that point because everything was just Star Wars. Star Wars. They even had different names for it and all that.
Yeah, and then that's really what made it. Was Empire hitting a home run was the most important thing. That was George Lucas batting 1,000 for that movie was what launched the franchise.
Yeah, because most movies you say, oh well, the next one isn't as good as the first one, but you're like that one was definitely up there.
Yeah, blew it out of the water. Yeah, definitely. All right, so we're talking a lot about the movies. Empire Strikes Back got mentioned in like 5 of y'all's first memories.
It's a cinema
There's a
classic.
reason for that.
Great film.
It's a classic. It's a classic. But we're gonna get down into the nitty gritty and talk turkey here, and because Star Wars fans are really good at arguing, and we debate ravenously about a lot of topics. But the most contentious one is possibly what is the best Star Wars movie. And so no topic has ever caused more trips to the nurse's office from the elementary school cafeteria than this one right here. So everyone, this time starting with Cassidy, what is your favorite Star Wars movie and why?
Well, I'm just going to go ahead and add my name in the hat for the Empire Strikes Back. But I don't know. I feel like I kind of have a little bit of maybe a unique perspective on why it would be my favorite, and it kind of revolves around like the Han and Leia love story. I think that because I didn't really watch Star Wars until I was an adult, and I was like, courting this guy over here, falling in love, that's what really appealed to me. So it's just really cool that you get to watch them like go through their ups and downs, and they don't really like each other, and then they end up getting stuck with each other in the Millennium Falcon, and they're kind of forced to face their feelings, and then it ends in, Han getting taken away to be frozen in carbonite, and Leia tells him that she loves him, and he has such a Han response and says that he knows. And I actually made Carter like a little anniversary Lego thingy that says that on it. It's cute.
Yeah, it's great. Sitting on my desk at work. Yeah, it looks awesome.
That's my favorite.
Yeah, good. Well,
That's a really good reason for that. It's like none of us are going to have reason.
No.
But that romance side of it is such a core component to this that we all care about the action scenes and the starships, and to have that other thing in there is we probably don't see that overtly, but it's still part of the story, and it still elevates that it wouldn't normally have. It were just some brainless action.
You're absolutely right. It's a poignant part of the success of Empire Strikes Back was that romance plot right there. I mean, they added in an element that was not present in A New Hope, and that elevates a movie in a big way. Just the dynamic between those two characters, because they had set Han up as such a scoundrel in the first one, and then just the title Princess gives a certain level of authority to Leia. And so those two coming together it's a big.
I mean,
deal.
yeah,
it's a really
and they
big part of that.
That's
movie.
really why they like butted heads so much in the beginning, is because she just thought all he cared about was money, and he just thought she was some like stuck up princess. And then they got to know each other, and it all worked out. So
yeah. All right, Brian, you're next up. What's your favorite Star Wars movie and why?
Well, in the olden days, I would have said Empire Strikes Back because as a kid, I saw the original Star Wars, and Princess Leia kind of got on my nerves. Luke Skywalker was whiny, so I liked Darth Vader and the Stormtroopers. So the Empire Strikes Back, they just brought it hard and they just beat the snot out of the rebels, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. But nowadays, I'm kind of starting to grow towards the Return of the Jedi because they got a lot more going on than just. Well, I mean, the love scene was great and the asteroids was cool, but Return of the Jedi, you got so much going on at all times.
You can't forget the teddy bears.
Yeah. I mean, those stupid cannibal bears were probably eating smoked stormtrooper meat for 6 months, so.
Hey, we have a cat named after one of those stupid cannibal teddy bears.
Actually, Ewok is a favored pet name because of that movie.
Yeah. We got Wicket running around here somewhere for that very reason. That's interesting. I forget that people used to call Luke whiny before we got Anakin
he was
Skywalker.
That's so true.
Anakin then blows that out of the water.
I totally didn't think about
He's
that.
in the family.
Yeah,
They diluted
he was.
down.
I thought he was just too whiny. And I didn't even buy the Luke Skywalker action figure because he was too whiny.
Wow.
Whoa. Until I got older and I was like, I really should get that.
After watching the prequels, this is really good.
Plus, Return of the Jedi, I was coming of age, and Princess Leia came out there, and I was like, okay, she's looking pretty good,
Yeah. There, you had a new appreciation for Carrie Fisher.
She wasn't as weird as I thought. I was like, okay.
All right, Ethan, you're next up. What's up? What is your favorite Star Wars movie?
Okay, for me, it's definitely going to be an unpopular take. I don't know about the table you have set up here.
It's 2-0-0 right now with OT. And we're about to score a point for a category I don't think people are expecting.
I don't think anybody else will pick a category for this. It is The Rise of Skywalker. It is my favorite Star Wars film. And I will take it a step further. After much deliberation, it is my favorite film, period.
Wow.
I'll tell you, old brave soul sitting Nathan next to me.
You got to defend that. You got to tell us why. You got to tell us why.
Until he defends.
Even Indiana Jones jumps in before that.
So somebody on one of my Discord friends said it best. I can and I have written essays. I have written 85 reasons why I love this film, and I would gladly pull them up after this podcast. So
pull them up right now. Filibuster the podcast. 85 reasons.
Please don't.
Yeah, don't really. No, I won't. So, but anyways, somebody said it best. This is the Star Wars best hits. Do we have a crazy monster? Yes, we have the Serpent. Do we have a crazy super weapon? Yes, we have the Zystons, which are the Death Star. Star Destroyers. Thank you. And we have the trio. We have the great banter. We even. This is going to be unpopular, but we do have the romance with Reylo. So I think it just hits every place. This is the most Star Wars-y Star Wars we have ever had.
Very brave. I'd say it's the most Indiana Jones Star Wars we've had.
Yeah. Where's Kylo Ren in that list? Is he like 12?
Well, actually, on my list, he is the number one.
Me too.
Oh, thank God. Okay, man.
He is my favorite Star Wars character.
All right, I was about to eviscerate you, but okay, he's number one. Okay, forgivable so far.
I can certainly respect you backing it up. I'll give you that. I'll give you that.
Look, it's my favorite sequel for sure. I think The Rise of Skywalker blows the other two sequels out of the water.
Actually, a disagreement we're going to have is, I think, probably with the rest of the table is I think Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker go hand in hand. I think they go really well together. And that is an unpopular take. I know people say, JJ just retconned everything, for better or for worse, but...
For better.
Yeah. I think, he took the romance that definitely started in Last Jedi, and he paid it off. He took, everybody's, leaving the Resistance. Nobody's there. Well, we'll pay that off. We'll have the dyad, which is an amazing idea, and, as we saw in Acolyte, is setting stuff up. So I think that it's a great Star Wars film.
Okay.
I don't know if you helped your argument much bringing Acolyte into this stuff.
So we got our next guest here. We got Cy. We got a tick mark for the sequel trilogy. I don't know what Cy's answer is, so we'll see if we get a tick mark for the prequel trilogy here. Cy, favorite Star Wars movie?
There ain't no reason to beat around the bush. I'm not gonna sit here and jerk y'all in all different directions or anything. It's Revenge of the Sith. It always has been. It always will be. All right. There's no topping it. You get the best lightsaber fight in the entire Star Wars franchise.
Hot take.
Yeah, hey, but it's true though. Lava in the background, some of the best scores. I mean, there's just so much that's great about that film. The culmination of Anakin's transformation into Darth Vader, thus begins the tragedy of Darth Vader into the OT. It's also something that I got to see in theaters when I was a kid, so that kind of resonates with me a bit. But for me, it's the perfect film. Awesome space battles from the very beginning. You get everything, the culmination with Grievous. It's so good. It's so good, and it sets up so much for the future of Star Wars. It's that original storyline that leads into everything. Leads into the OT. Leads into the sequels. Leads into a lot of the shows. Goes hand in hand with some of them. Yeah, it's so.
Of all the polls I've always seen, Revenge of the Sith currently is like unbeatable, and I think pretty sure second is Empire Strikes Back, but Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah, sometimes I see that list and it grinds my gears. I love Revenge of the Sith, but above Empire Strikes
I would
Back
100% agree. I'm not the biggest fan of Revenge of the Sith.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's a popularity contest. It's popular.
Sure,
opinion.
yeah,
So
popular.
keep
Right,
that in
right.
mind.
Yeah,
It doesn't mean it's true.
Yeah, Revenge of the Sith, the
Exactly.
homecoming queen.
And it wins every year too.
One day we'll have
It
our
does
time.
start fantastically with that battle in space, though.
Oh,
That is one cool thing about Star Wars. Everything starts with the spaceship and the planet.
Yeah, everything that rhymes.
job.
All of George Lucas's rhyming stuff with having the celebrations at the beginning of at the end of the Phantom Menace and A New Hope, and at the end of the Force Awakens, having the spaceship shot, always having I have a bad feeling about this. It's a lot of the part of the success. There's a lot of criticism of cameos nowadays, or fan service is what they'd call that. But doing those over and over rhymes is just part of the beats of Star Wars sometimes. Emilio, you're next up. What's your favorite Star Wars movie?
I'm gonna have to go with Episode 4, A New Hope.
Okay.
Because
respectable pick.
Yeah,
the gentleman's pick.
To me, it's just the one that started it all. There is no Episode 5. There's no Episode 6. There's no prequel trilogy, and there definitely isn't the Disney trilogy. So, yeah, A New Hope. I just feel like it was boom or bust for George Lucas with Episode 4, because there's so many other sci-fi movies that didn't do well, and they had a sci-fi theme like Star Wars did. But George Lucas, he hit a home run, and it really set this change.
Saved the genre, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, not just Star Wars.
For
Saved
sure.
the whole genre of sci-fi.
Yeah, and I tried watching old sci-fi movies like Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
I can see why that movie didn't do too well.
Yeah.
Is Emilio cooking?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely, yeah. It's a very good argument.
Yeah.
And they didn't even make a Star Trek movie. It's only because of Star Wars that they made a Star Trek movie.
I did not know that. That's shocking.
Yep. Paramount goes, hey, what do we got that can compete with that? And they're like, oh, we have this thing in the back called Star Trek.
Yeah, you guys remember that?
Like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, Colin, I grew up watching Star Trek. So when the stars came out, I was just like, whoa, that's even better.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure, by far my favorite.
Cool. Yeah. Strong answer. So far, we've got no overlapping answers, which is really impressive. But still, 3 answers for the OT, 1 for the ST, 1 for the prequels. Josh, who you throwing your hat with?
Oh, okay. So I'll give my previous answers. It was Empire Strikes Back, and then I did like The Phantom Menace, but anyway, I got over that.
I got over
that.
Ray Park,
I got over it.
respectable.
No, I just
Respectable.
like the 3000 one. It was great.
TPM is
Jar Jar,
respectable.
don't lie.
Oh, okay,
TPM is
I
respectable.
Jar
love
Jar became cool because of Darth Jar Jar.
Oh, come on.
No. You don't read the comics?
I don't believe Darth Jar Jar at all.
There is no way.
chance. It is not
a
canon.
lightsaber.
We're getting
When they uncanonized
We're getting fanfic hour.
No, it was in the comics. It was during Clone Wars. Jar Jar was like, don't blow my cover. Don't blow my cover. Okay, this one stormtrooper, I gotta. And a lightsaber, like, oh, I had a lightsaber. My bad. I'm gonna shoot myself. But he looked at that trooper like, yeah, you know what's up.
So, what's your favorite?
Oh yeah, my favorite is Rogue One.
Ooh,
and for the
wow.
sole reason,
Good pick.
No,
Good pick.
For the sole reason, because it has the best scene in all of Star Wars.
Wow.
It has Darth Vader owning
The hallway
it.
scene.
Hallway scene.
Yes.
Yeah, we were there at the movie theater. Me, you, and
Yeah,
Carter
us
watched
three
that.
did see that
in
one
the
together.
front row, having just a
Great.
And that scene
blowing
is
up
like,
watching that scene. It was crazy.
I don't know. It's like what 20 seconds, but it felt like 5 minutes to me. I ended up putting like more choreography in that scene than was on the theater. No, and because of that, like, hey, like Darth Vader, oh, Anakin, he's cool, but he's not there. He's not cooked. He's not ready. And then here comes Vader, and he's ready.
That's a cool scene.
No, that's a
good
answer.
And the rest of the movie is pretty good, but Vader at the end, that's what does it.
Okay, cool. So now we've got a score for the Star Wars stories. I didn't really think about that one in my
forgot
score.
about those.
We got 3-1-1-1.
Yeah, that one kind of ties in with the OT though, because they actually did use some shots from the original that they cut.
That's true.
Yeah, that was like a small concern.
Yeah, well, they had to use all of those
Mostly
assets of Peter Cushing to get that Tarkin on there, which I still stand by. There's a lot of criticism of the digitizing people's faces, and it's gotten bad, and it's gotten too much. Like the new Indiana Jones movie, that's one of the hardest parts is he's driving that motorcycle, and his hands are the hands of an 80-year-old man, and you can totally tell. But that Tarkin one, the very first one, the way they used it, it seemed well done to me.
It could have been worse. It could have been worse.
Well, but the X-wing pilots, they actually had shots from the Red Leader.
Yes.
From 1977.
Yeah, that was really fantastic. Yeah. They did a really good job with those.
And we soon found out how come Red 5. How did Luke become Red 5? Because that dude died.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. So
it was good. Yeah. Rogue One is a respectable answer, too. That's a good one. All right. Tristan, what's yours?
All right. I'm going to duplicate a movie.
Okay. First time we're getting a double.
Let's go, Rise of Skywalker.
Where's the champagne? Revenge of the Sith.
Yep.
It's kind of a generational thing. It's no surprise you and Si are the same age.
yeah, that's true.
He just got good taste. He just got good taste.
It's the climax of the best trilogy.
What's your favorite part of that movie?
Well, there's a favorite scene question, I think.
He's saving it.
He
don't want no spoilers.
That in the back pocket real quick.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't know. My second favorite part is probably the Mace Windu death scene.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, we
That's
talked about it in one of the
one.
previous podcasts.
I was stunned.
That's one of those pivotal moments in all of Star Wars, if not the.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Threw my brain in a blender.
So you think they're going to get Windu
sure.
back?
I hope
No.
He's pushing for it. He's like, hey, I actually lived.
He is.
He's
Samuel
a
L.
problem,
Jackson
isn't
is
he?
pushing for it, but
Yeah, isn't he a problem though on set? Like he wants his own
I have heard this.
lightsaber.
Oh well,
and
that
all
was
that.
George was happy to oblige that. I think,
Of course,
but in
the
general,
one.
I've heard Samuel L. Jackson is
If
a
you're
little
gonna
tough
give a
to
mouse
work
a
with
cookie,
sometimes.
you know
I think
what
that
mean?
purple
Yeah.
lightsaber set off a chain of new lore.
It did. Yeah. Before that, the first new lightsaber was Luke's green one. The only reason they did that was because the Tunisian sky was blue and they couldn't see a blue lightsaber, so they had to invent a new color. And then George was like, okay, they're just blue and green. And then Mace invented a new color, and now we've got as many colors as there are on the rainbow.
Yep. And so much deep stuff like bled crystals and recovered crystals.
White lightsabers and what they mean. Yeah.
Orange ones that we don't even know what they are now.
I think
Crackled
that
lightsabers.
I didn't know the background in like what you just said about just red and green. But knowing that now, having just learned that, I feel like that the different colors add so much to the character.
Yeah, you're right.
You know,
it absolutely does.
like you know their personality kind of based on their lightsaber color. You're intrigued about why is theirs different than everyone else. Like.
Yeah, no, it's a good element.
Yeah.
It's strong.
That's really cool.
It sells toys.
Yeah, I just didn't know that they were originally supposed to just be green and red.
Yep.
Didn't Knights of the Old Republic, weren't they those? Wasn't that where they had all the colors of the rainbow of lightsabers?
I'm not a KOTOR
like a
player.
lore
Never
check.
played it before. Fun fact. Sai could maybe answer this question, but I'm not sure
Knights
if
of the
you
Old
can.
Republic. Yeah, what was it?
Did
Sorry.
they have multiple lightsaber colors before Attack of the Clones?
Yeah.
But
they
before
did.
Attack of the Clones.
The
The first game did not come out until...
they had red, green, and blue. Yeah, definitely. I'm pretty sure.
I could have swore they had all the colors.
I'm also colorblind, so
Yeah, fun fact.
I just whispered to Carter,
Yeah, she
says the
did.
colorblind guy.
These microphones are a little sensitive, so I'm sure it heard.
Yeah,
Says the colorblind
I
guy.
can't argue for all of them, but I'm fairly certain there was red, green, and blue. But
Yeah.
I'll have to check that.
So you're right. There were all the colors, but that's because it came out in 2003, 1 year after Attack of the Clones, where purple had already been introduced.
Gotcha. There. Okay, so that's how.
So, Colin, your favorite Star Wars movie. People have heard a lot about our favorites, but we're going to talk about them again.
Yeah, I mean, it's still Empire Strikes Back. Always is. Always going to be. Nothing's going to top that for me. Seeing that the first time, like I said, just the scenes, the strength of the Empire, and still getting I don't know, that carbonite scene at the end, that was just something else. Han Solo walks in and Darth Vader absorbs those shots, so they just totally get tricked. Seeing Yoda on Dagobah, very cool.
Yeah, yeah.
So just so many iconic moments all crammed into one movie. Can't beat it.
No, it's a strong answer. I often say, because it's not my answer, but I often say that it's the best Star Wars movie, but it's not my favorite. My favorite is edged out with an element of nostalgia added. Because mine is Return of the Jedi, so I'm siding with Brian here. That movie, it was what I fell asleep to as a kid, basically every night growing up. I've probably seen hundreds of hours of that movie, thousands of hours of that movie even. And I think it sums up the core message of Star Wars completely, which is about family and it's about forgiveness. And Luke being able to forgive his father in that moment after all of the deeds that Darth Vader had committed and be able to see past the darkness and find the light there is the whole point of Star Wars. And so that movie sums it up completely. And so Return of the Jedi will always be my favorite Star Wars movie.
Good pick. I like the contrast between the two films.
Oh, yeah.
And it's just epic movie making. For me, across the whole everything of it. We obviously ranked them several times, but that OT is where it's at for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we've got some more questions to go. We've got a few more. And this one's a little different because this podcast is about Star Wars. We talk about Star Wars on every episode. Well, except for 2 where we did our Indiana Jones episodes. But other than those, this is the Star Wars station. And we're all here because we love Star Wars. And that's why we wanted to have this conversation today. But as mentioned at the top of the show, everybody in this room has touched or been involved with this show, the Star Wars station, in one way or another. So I want to ask everyone what their favorite Star Wars station moment is. It could be from an episode, it could be from your own guest appearance on the show, a live show, a moment from the RPG, anything. And so I'm going to go through everybody, but I'm going to start out with Emilio. And what is your favorite Star Wars station moment?
Okay, well, I didn't expect to be called upon first, but I'm ready.
I ask Emilio because he's of everyone sitting at this table, one of the biggest fans. Emilio listens to us pretty consistently.
Oh yeah, for sure. I find new things every day about you two. I really do. That Carter never saw the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy. I don't know how.
Yeah, that's true. Never seen it.
Wow, really? Are you serious? Held on to it.
Yeah,
yeah. I've never seen it. Don't have plans to either.
I probably got it on DVD or even something if you want to see it.
Well, I've made it this far. Now it's kind of a point that I'm not going to do it.
I see. But favorite moment was definitely at the 2023 YC3. I was the first person to have my question answered at the live show, and that to me was my favorite moment. It really. And I was front row too. I raised my hand immediately because I wanted this question asked. It was about the dark saber and in the Mandalorian. What happened to it? And you guys answered it pretty well. So
good. I'm glad you remember the answer too. Awesome.
Yeah. We made an audience member mad that day too.
We did. Someone stormed off. He was very upset with whatever answer we gave. I think we weren't slandering something as much as he wanted.
No, I remember it vividly. Okay. He asked. Is the Darksaber destroyed?
Oh, yes.
And I said, yeah, it is. I mean, but it's a Beskar. It should be indestructible. I'm like, yeah. And so was what's his name suit. And so
Gideon
backed up by hydraulic force. It's going to break it.
Mm-hmm.
Is what it is.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Whatever. All right, Ethan. How about you next? What is your favorite Star Wars station moment?
All right, you're going to have to forgive me, Carter, because it's not a Star Warsy comment, but. It was your interview with Mark Thompson. I hope I'm saying that.
Thompson.
My bad. Dyslexia. So, and of course, he is a great narrator for Audible, and he does Star Wars books, and he does a really good Han Solo impression. But he also voices a main character of one of my other favorite franchises, which is Transformers. He voices Megatron in a show called Transformers Cyberverse. And so I was very excited to hear y'all talk with him because that show is very good, and I do recommend watching it. It is definitely childish, but so is Star Wars.
I think we ended up asking him a Transformers question in that interview.
Yes, he actually did.
Because of you. You were like, you're interviewing that guy. Will you ask him a Transformers question? So we did, yeah.
He did an impression too, if I remember correctly.
Of Megatron? I think he did. He did do his Megatron voice. That guy, Mark, he's something else. His son goes to the same university that I went to, and he's just like a wonderful guy. And we are really happy to know him and to get to talk to him.
Yeah, that was a magical moment. It really was. It's something we never expected. We just reached out and boom, it clicked. It was awesome.
Yep.
I would have bet money on the fact that Ethan was going to try to sneak in a Transformer comment.
Speaking of which, Transformers 1 might dethrone Rise of Skywalker as my favorite.
As your favorite movie? I'm surprised. I am surprised no other Transformers movie has beaten it so far. So, Josh, how about you go next with your favorite Star Wars station moment? Because I saw you get real excited when I mentioned the podcast or the RPG.
Oh, yeah, no. I was like, oh, it instantly came in. Yeah. No, it was when Q-Talk over here. You know, he was sneaking up on those guys. Can't remember who they were. And he liked their speeder.
Oh God!
And it was this first moment of kleptomaniac.
Hey, y'all told me to do it. So
whatever.
Told you to be sneaky while I was getting attacked. And he just goes off. And I'm like, okay. He sliced it, and then he stole the speeder, and then we're in that freaking whirlwind.
That was such a classic
Yeah,
scene.
that was the best.
Yeah, very fun. Pretty Star Wars. It reminded me of the Ewoks stealing the speeder.
Yeah. Except it was a Tusken Raider.
Yep. All right, Tristan, how about you? What is your favorite Star Wars station moment?
Yeah, so mine's probably, and I can't remember what year it was, but it was also the conventions. Not say, maybe the year before Emilio's. Was that 2022?
Yeah, we started out in 22.
Down? Okay, that one is by far my favorite, and that was just because, like, the way the booth was set up, you guys had so much interaction that day. I was like very shocked. I don't know if it like a ton of glory hounds at the, like they see a microphone and they come on, but that was a ton of fun. You guys were like,
we had
so
a
busy.
lot of audience engagement that day just because we had an actual booth and not we did both. We had a booth and we had a room. We had a panel right that day as well. But that booth was that was your idea, I'm pretty sure. And we got in there last minute. We had to pay a little bit extra to get a booth. Fine with me because we had so many fun interactions.
Yeah, we did.
With just randos out on the street. Mini interviews with cosplayers.
Live streamed the whole thing. We were watching in our downtime. If no one was at the booth, which was pretty much never, we were just watching Star Wars movies at the booth.
Doing commentary.
We weren't selling anything. We had a bunch of our replica lightsabers there, and people would just play with them.
Yeah.
It was fun. Yeah, that was a good time.
Answer questions. When you do that again and have like a trivia thing and raffle or something.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I was probably I just came across you guys. I was like, hey, what's going on, guys? We're like, oh, hey, you want to talk? I'm like, I don't know, do I?
Wasn't I?
You helped us set up.
So many people helped us set up.
Yeah, well, that's why you guys are on the show. Everyone here is so helpful all the time with this podcast. All right. Cassidy, how about you? What is your favorite Star Wars station moment?
My favorite Star Wars station moment, I have to give myself a little shout out, was when I was on the podcast and Colin was nice enough to let me take over his role for an episode, and Carter and I talked all things Princess and the Scoundrel because we had been reading it together. If you know me, you know I'm not a huge reader, so him convincing me to read that, well, we kind of cheated and we listened to it, but it was really cool just being able to do that as a couple and then getting to come on to your passion project and get to talk about it with you. It was really cool.
Yeah, that was a blast.
That was a great episode. I listened to it. You did a great job.
Yeah, you did wonderful. And it was a good Valentine's Day episode.
Yeah. I also have to just say, like, anytime I get to, like, play groupie with y'all is fun, too.
All right, Sai, how about you?
Mine, unsurprisingly, comes from our live play RPG. It's got to be when the Wayward Wayfarers squeezed through this little bitty crevice opening that was in the Valley of the Dark Lords while fighting off Pelco bugs and Tukata, and they got around this little pool of water that went down, and they had the genius idea. We're going to take XS, the droid, and tie this big old cable around him, and you guys lowered him down, and he shot off like a rocket when he hit that bottom river well. Over the waterfall, boom, and then you all ended up following down, and you see the massive ziggurat that came to house the Harbingers of the Final Order. Very, very cool. Just the layout, that garden that was there with all the statues of the different Sith. That probably was it for me. Just the spectacle I got to put on, the scene of going over the waterfall and everything, climbing back up, and just you guys finding that was really cool because you guys squeezed through just a little crevice that was tiny. It was really, really rewarding for me to have put that in there. It's like, well, maybe they'll find this, and then you guys did, and it became a major plot point. I would say that was very rewarding for me, so I'd have to go with that.
Some of us made through better than others.
Yeah, I was about to say, you forgot the part where I get stuck and you still pickle bugs after me.
Yes, Zell did get paralyzed for about 4 hours.
Walking around half numb.
Yeah.
Now, that was, if you're a listener and you're listening to this and you're not listening to the RPG, you're really missing out. It is one of the most fun things that we do. We all have a blast doing it. The 5 of us who are here have a blast doing it. And Cy crafts an amazing world. It's in the Star Wars universe, but after that, it's on planets, but the story is wholly his. And it's been a blast so far through the 8 episodes that we've recorded and the many more that we have on the way. So, Brian, I think you're next. This one may be an RPG answer, too. So, what is yours?
Yeah. We have so much fun on that. And the nonsense that we do and we get away and we try to pull off is just hilarious. And then we think we're going one way, and next thing you know, we're going another way. And we're just like, well, how'd this happen? I don't know. Hey, let's throw the droid in. Hey, goodbye. It's the best. It really is. But as far as the rest of the podcast goes, Star Wars Station, I learn stuff from you guys all the time because I don't read as much as y'all do. I'm OG Star Wars, I know that stuff. But then you're like, oh, look at this. And this one puts together, and Kylo Grin or whatever his name was got that medal that
Cortosis.
Yeah, that Cortosis. I never heard any of that nonsense.
Yeah.
So all of that is just cool. I was just like, okay, that's cool. I didn't know that. And I'll be watching the TV. And sometimes I'll watch it with my mom and dad, and they're like, "What's the deal with that?" And I'm like, "So you know what this is?" They're like, "Oh yeah." I was like, "Yeah, I heard Carter and Colin talking about it." Oh, okay.
Cool.
That's
good.
good.
I'm happy we can edify your parents a little bit.
Yeah,
That's
because I have
awesome.
to educate them the whole movie. They're like, "What's going on here?" I'm like, it's not that hard, guys. Here we go.
Yeah. All right, Colin, what's your favorite
Man,
moment? I don't know what it's going to be.
This is too tough.
I know,
It really
it's
is.
hard.
I got one picked, so don't. But there's just too many things. Going around listening to everybody. The convention stuff is just off. I can't believe we've done that. We've gotten previews of several books and done podcasts on just those books. I never would have thought that would have happened. And all those books, except for maybe 1 or 2, have been just off the charts, cool and fantastic. Like the High Republic stuff wasn't even on my radar. I've read every single one of those things. And so if you're going to hold a gun to my head and make me pick, it's an Art Troopers episodes that I picked to do. So it's about Mandalorian, the capstone 3-episode arc of Mandalorian Season 2. I had a dear friend of mine that I watched those episodes with. He came over to my house. We ate dinner. And you know what happens in those episodes? It's Luke Skywalker shows up, has his hallway scene with the droids, knocks those out, and Mando and Grogu have that moment, that father-son moment. That friend passed away. And it's those moments in Star Wars, hanging out with all our friends, that means so much to me. And I got to talk about that in that ARC Troopers episode.
Yeah.
So kind of selfish. I know this is our podcast and all that stuff, but to me, getting to talk about that, and it just means the world to me.
Yeah, no, it's wonderful, and that was a wonderful episode. And I know how much those episodes meant to you, and I'm happy that we get to share that with so many of our listeners, too. It's really, really wonderful. I have to say, for mine, it has to be the very first episode that we recorded. We didn't live in the same state. We record now in the same room. We record on a mixer together, and it's really easy. But at that time, we were living hundreds of miles apart, and so we were recording remotely. And when one day we were just on the phone talking about some Star Wars TV show, and we were like, man, we should just record this, because we're having hours-long phone call conversations just talking about, oh, did you know about this? Did you know about this? And so, why don't we just record this and put it out there? And so we, did a little bit of research on how to do a podcast and came together and decided that we were going to do it. And so we recorded remotely, and we sat down and we recorded about a video game that I played for like 2 weeks and have never picked up again. And it was the Star Wars Skywalker Saga Lego video game.
Lego game. That game's fun.
It's a lot of fun, but it was, it was a one and done, but just the way that we were able to get on there, talk about Star Wars for an hour and a half, have a blast doing it, and then realize that we could really make something out of this and that we could really do something here.
And we have.
was the most fun moment for me.
Yep.
That was definitely the number one moment.
Another thing I'll add that about these moments, when we started this podcast, I talked about Josh, you and I, we went and saw Rogue One. We started years after that movie came out. There hasn't been a movie come out since we started this.
That's true.
There's been several TV shows, lots of books, lots of comics, lots of other media here and there. But going back in the past is like a nostalgia thing and so that's been another huge fun part to this is getting to react to things that are happening right now, getting those hot takes out there. And so that's another major fun part to this is getting to react. I can't wait to when the Mandalorian and Grogu movie comes out.
Yeah, look into the future.
It's going to be off the hook.
Yeah, because there's a lot of good Star Wars coming down the pipe. The first movie review we ever did was Indiana Jones, which is just super
Which is
funny.
still good.
Oh, yeah, I'm happy we did it.
Yeah.
But we'll finally be able to do a Star Wars review next year, and that's going to be something else.
Yeah, that was another top moment. We all went and saw the Star Wars or Indiana Jones and did a rapid reactions immediately
In the car.
after
Yeah,
that
that is a top moment. That one was a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Yeah, that one was really good. Recorded it on our phone, right? Yeah. So, only a few questions left, and this one is one I'm pretty excited about because I think we're going to get a lot of variable answers out of this one. Because one of the key pieces of magic, I think that one of the things that makes Star Wars so special is that it has singular moments, still images, sound bites, anything like that captures your imagination, it plunges you into the world, and it pretty much sits with you for life. Like, you're always going to remember that Star Wars moment, that Star Wars still. And so, through all of the countless Star Wars moments, I'd like to know what everyone's single favorite moment is. And Ethan, we'll start with you on this one.
All right, thank you, Carter. So, again, probably controversial, but my favorite scene, of course, it's in The Rise of Skywalker, otherwise it would be my favorite movie. So, it is when, at the final battle, when Palpatine just absorbed the dyad, so now he's the ultimate Sith, and Rey is lying down, and she is looking up to the sky, and she is saying, "Be with me," to all the past Jedi, because as Luke said, 1,000 generations live in you. This feels so climactic. Every Sith, every Jedi have built to this final battle. As Palpatine said, all the Sith live in him, and as Rey said, all the Jedi live in her. So I think that climactic finish of the saga and just seeing Rey and her themes softly play as all the Jedi of shows and movies we hear over, I think it is just beautiful.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
that's a good
answer.
answer because that scene really is one of the best scenes in that whole trilogy, really, because you get to see that's one of the callbacks, one of the few callbacks to the prequels in the whole trilogy. Because you get prequel Jedi there, and it ties together those movies into the wider Star Wars universe in a unique way.
And that's why I'm glad Palpatine returned, because it ties all of the trilogies together. And it does.
Just quadrupling down on this.
Yeah. You notice why nobody responds, because they're just like, if I have nothing nice to say, don't say it at all. Just don't say it at all.
Everyone's too polite here. No one wants to cause a stink on the 100th episode. We'll
You're
save it for the 101st.
As far as I'm concerned.
The rebuttal episode is going to be better.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
When we get on there in that station verse, okay, what do y'all want to argue about?
All right, Sai, so what about you?
Oh, it is hard for me, because when you think, like, singular moments, I think of, like what you said, sound bites and things like that. But if I'm going with a scene, it's a long scene, and this comes from the Siege of Mandalore, and that is Ahsoka and Maul's fight, and Maul being captured at the end when he's falling, and all the clones wire him up, and he's screaming, "We're all going to burn, we're all going to die." I think it gives me the chills, even just saying it right there. I think it's such an impactful scene that Maul knows what's coming. Like, this was all ordained when he was originally Sidious's apprentice, and he didn't know everything, but he put those pieces together, and you see that happen throughout the Clone Wars of him putting all those puzzle pieces into place and like, oh my gosh. And at the very end, he figures it out just when it becomes too late to stop him. And we're all going to burn. It's over. There's nothing left. You can't do anything. And they couldn't. So for me, that's one of the most impactful scenes in all of Star Wars. I think it's Maul's most impactful scene. But
that's a very good scene. I have a question.
It gives me the chills.
I have a question for you. So in Ahsoka, I'm pretty sure they did a live action recreation of the Siege of Mandalore, just briefly. But what was your opinion on that? Did you think it was cool?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Got to see Rex in live action for sure.
I will say
that was awesome.
Singing a young Ahsoka in live action on
the young
Battlefield,
Ahsoka was kind of
it hits different.
Yeah, it is a little different, but that's a great answer. And honestly, first answer that's involved animation and pretty much anything here. But that's such a big part of Star Wars.
I'm a huge Clone Wars guy. Y'all know me, so yeah, I had to get that one in there.
Absolutely. Is that your favorite episode?
Yeah, actually, so for me, the Siege of Mandalore, if I could consider the 4 episodes a movie, it would be my favorite Star Wars
movie. It is
movie.
really good. It is one of it's one of the few
so
that actually got me to cry.
Yeah, and I still go back and watch it all the time.
Have you seen the 4.5 hour supercut with Revenge of the Sith? I thought so.
Oh, yeah.
I've seen that.
Phenomenal.
Anyone else here seen that yet?
I have
Gotta see it.
Thanks. So.
Oh, it's
gotta
awesome.
see it.
Where's it on?
Well, you got to find it on the internet, on Reddit somewhere, because some guy just made it. And you got to find it on a really sketchy website where you download the file and you think it's going to bust your computer, but it ends up being awesome. I mean, obviously it's animation and live action cut together, a little jarring every now and then, but it's worth seeing.
Yeah, with
really
how
is.
it fits in, especially once Order 66 kicks in and it does like these couple of quick cuts. It's beautiful. I love that, Carter. Yes,
yeah, it's very good.
Told me I gotta find this.
Yeah. Well, look, I'll figure out where it is. I might still have the file on my computer, so I'll disseminate it. All right, Josh, how about you? What is your favorite Star Wars moment?
Previous questions. There was all movies, so going to Rebels, we're totally in line. All right, so that was when General Grievous first showed up.
Oh yeah.
Yes, that was good. He shows up and just starts owning Jedis.
Yeah,
that was the best moment.
Yeah. No, General Grievous is pretty fearsome. You know, they dumbed him down a little bit in the Clone Wars because he's got Skeletor syndrome, right? He's perpetually the villain. Same with Dooku. Dooku's one of my favorite characters. You watch him in the Clone Wars, and it's just
he got taken out by Gungans, didn't he?
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly who captures Grievous is the Gungans. Yeah, it is. But you look at him in the Tartakovsky Clone Wars, that cartoon from the 2000s, that
killer.
Oh man, scary.
Yeah, literal killer.
And on that line, there was also Dirge. That's the short comic.
Yes,
Dirge.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, that guy's great. What happened to him?
Yeah.
Like, oh, hey, let's slowly let him die. I'm like, he's a cyborg. He only upgrades. He only supposed to get better. So at the beginning, it was like, yes. And then they did even better when they extended the scene. How was it? We first saw it, but then the troopers came in and they saved him.
Yes. Yeah. He escapes there.
I
Yeah.
was like, oh, hey, you have to have this to save Jedi for me. I was like, all right. I was like, that works.
All right, Tristan, how about you? What is your favorite Star Wars moment?
My favorite Star Wars moment, it's got to be like post Anakin to Obi-Wan fight in Revenge of the Sith when Anakin's like crawling after him. You know, the I hate you.
Yeah.
That kind of, So that was pretty, first time watching that, I'm stunned, right? So you always want to, when you're younger, you want to be Anakin, and then you realize like, oh, wait a minute.
Who hurt you, Tristan?
That's like it's a great part of the movie. It gets you a little emotional. You if you hadn't seen the prequels beforehand like me, then that would be the case. So
yeah, see, and I'm older, and I'm just like, oh, get a grip, come on.
He's whining. Yeah.
You're Darth Vader. You don't do that.
Rub some dirt in it.
That's right.
The comics did him justice.
If it's a soundbite, which I didn't consider, it's got to be the "do it."
Oh
do
yeah,
it.
this
from Palpatine.
Yeah, infinitely memeable lines.
Yeah.
I will say the prequels are often criticized for the clunky dialogue, which I don't disagree with, but that scene was very good and very spectacularly well choreographed and written, in my opinion.
No, wonderful. Amelia, what about you?
Well, for me, it's going to be my favorite Star Wars movie. It's the last scene where Princess Leia is giving the medals to Han, Luke, and Chewie. I don't know what it is about that scene, but that scene is just pure hype.
Yeah.
It's just all hype.
Chewie didn't get a medal.
It's all about Chewie that. Didn't get a medal. That's true.
I'm thinking about the scene. It's hard because I need to rewatch it. But
It's got to be the music in the
No, but your point stands. It really is. That's a beautiful
it's,
scene.
It's great.
Droids are all polished up.
Yeah, there's no dialogue in there. I mean, it's just pure hype, and it has kind of like a Wizard of Oz feel for some reason.
Yeah, no, that's a good description.
Yeah, that's a really good description.
It does have that feel. And it's got that, I mean, because you're just sitting there with John Williams' score, just watching the choreography, and the way that surges and the way that sounds makes it so celebratory. And those celebration moments, Ethan and I were actually arguing about this yesterday. That's how much we talk about Star Wars, was we were arguing about celebration moments in Star Wars, and that one came up as just being a hallmark and a setting stone for how many Star Wars movies need and require to have those big celebration keystones.
Which I don't think that, by the way.
Which Ethan's wrong, but...
Well, add it onto the pile.
So, Brian, what about you?
My best Star Wars memory.
No. Favorite Star Wars moment.
Favorite Star Wars moment. Okay. So, if it's the movie, it has to be Darth Vader standing as his father. Because I remember watching it as a kid, and I was like, he's lying. There's no stinking way. What's with this dude? You know, he's a bad guy. He's telling all the lies.
You were sitting in the cafeteria lunchroom. That's the one that you were talking about. You're telling your friends, no way. That's not.
No, see, I saw the movie, and I went home, and my friends across the street hadn't seen it, and I was like, guess what? Darth Vader is Luke's dad. They're like, no way. I'm like, wait, dudes. They didn't believe me. But
good thing. Spoiling it. The biggest twist in cinema history. And 9-year-old Brian runs across the street to go, I ain't going to believe this one.
It's like that scene
I
in The
think that's
Simpsons.
the only time I've ever spoiled a movie. It was just too much I had too much of it in me. I was like,
you had to let it out. You had to tell somebody.
I had to tell somebody.
Yeah.
They didn't mind. You know, they were
Sure. Yeah, you're kids. It's a little different. Yeah.
You know, they're 10, 12 years old.
Yeah. That's hilarious.
But if it was any other thing besides just the movie, it would be like Christmas. So the way I was growing up,
you're not talking the holiday special.
I was fixing to say that.
No, although the Boba Fett thing was kind of interesting. Okay, no, it was just getting a toy as Christmas because whenever I was growing up, we didn't have any money, so I only got things on my birthday or Christmas. But my mom went and worked at Kmart, something y'all probably never heard of, and built up all this money, and so they bought me all these Star Wars figures, and they stuck it in one box. So at Christmas, I opened that thing up, and it was like hitting the jackpot.
It's like the Ark of the Covenant.
Yeah.
Just blowing out with the light.
All these beautiful Star Wars figures, and I'm like, oh, that was to this day, I'm thinking that was just the most magnificent thing I've ever opened.
Yeah.
Brian had been opening socks for the past 30 minutes. He's like, whoa, what's going on
nowadays,
here?
I'm just like, woo, okay. Yeah, I still have good memories of just a fresh Stormtrooper out of a package. Like, oh, yes. It's wonderful.
Yeah, great. What about you, Cassidy?
We are on the
favorite
moment. Okay, this one was a hard one for me. I think that if I were to go with a soundbite, which same as Tristan, I didn't even consider that originally. Definitely not my favorite moment in all of Star Wars, but my favorite soundbite I think has got to be when I always butcher the pronunciation, but like my character's species, like my
Babu Frick.
But no, what is the
Anzellans?
Anzellan. When the Anzellans are with Grogu and they're like, bad baby, no squeezy. that cracks me up every time. But okay, I thought about that a second ago. But no, my favorite moment, hands down, in all of Star Wars is in Attack of the Clones, which is surprising because it's not my favorite movie. But when they can't find Camino, like on the tracker or whatever, and Yoda's teaching this class of younglings, and then Obi-Wan comes in, and he's like, hey, Master, I have this guy who told me about this planet, and I trust him, but I can't find it. And so him and Yoda pull up the like virtual or visual like map of the systems, and all the younglings are like amazed and looking at it, and Yoda is kind of brainstorming with them, like, how come, like, why do you think we can't see it? Like, what happened to it or whatever? And one of the younglings speaks up and she is like, well, I think the only thing that could have happened is somebody erased it from the archives. And Yoda's response to that is really my favorite part. And he says, truly wonderful the mind of a child is. And I think that is my favorite part because I'm a teacher, and it just kind of shows you how no matter how old you are, you can always learn from other people and kind of value their thoughts and what they have to say about things. And even if you are the teacher, your students can still teach you things. So that is my favorite Star Wars moment of all time.
Awesome.
That's
a really good one.
Thanks.
You're hitting real hard right here. Every one of your answers have been really good.
Thanks.
And Yoda got to kind of make fun of Obi-Wan too. He's like, "Hey, Obi-Wan here has lost a planet. What do you think?"
Right? That's what I was going to say. Yoda definitely knew.
I want to hear yours
Yeah,
first,
he kind
Carter.
of figured it out that way.
Yeah, I think he knew, and he just like wanted.
I mean,
to
he knew something was
put
wrong.
Obi-Wan down.
Yeah.
He wanted to
It was
be
a
like-
teaching moment.
It was a teaching moment. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to hear yours first because I don't want to step on you. If I want to pick yours.
Okay.
There's
I don't think they'll overlap, but I say that sometimes, and then they always end up doing it.
Yeah.
So I'll answer with mine. Mine is easily. I've honestly already described this, and it's the reason that I like Return of the Jedi the most. It's the reason that I think Star Wars exists, and it's Luke Skywalker with the crazed look in his eye, holding his green lightsaber, about to kill Darth Vader, and he sees the chopped off hand, and he sees the wires, and he understands that he and Vader have this in common, that he and his father are not so different, and he feels the good in Vader. And so Luke's moment of choosing not to kill Vader, choosing not to give in to the dark side, and choosing the light, tossing his lightsaber away, I am a Jedi like my father before me, that defiant expression to Palpatine, and that forgiving moment with Darth Vader is absolutely the single best moment in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, that's a really good pick. I can't pick one, so I'm going to do two. So sorry, you got to listen through two of them. The first one is Anakin and Mace Windu confronting Palpatine, and so what I really like about that moment is just as Anakin cuts Mace's arm off, and Palpatine shoots out the Force lightning, unlimited power, right? So cool. And I mean, the bad guy wins in that movie. You can count on one hand off the top of your head of where a bad guy wins in a movie. So it's kind of, we knew what was going to happen, but it's such an iconic scene in all of Star Wars. But really, the other one is in A New Hope, where Luke Skywalker turns off his targeting computer and listens to Force Ghost to Obi-Wan. Trust in the Force. Or what did you say exactly? I don't want to butcher it. What?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He says, use your senses, trust the Force. Yeah.
Yeah, trust the Force. And those torpedoes hit home. You know, we kind of, in our last episode, we talked about a hypothetical. If just moments later that Death Star whipped around and blew Yavin up, it would be this Tarkin's galaxy and all this other stuff. Go back and listen to that episode. It's a good one. But so much was on those lines. You know, 2 torpedoes had already missed. Darth Vader's breathing down his neck. Han Solo saved Luke's butt. And those torpedoes, by the will of the Force, hit home. I mean, it caused this downfall of the Empire in the galaxy, and set the actions in motion for the end of Palpatine. So cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And both of those moments specifically being such pivotal moments in Star Wars is, I think, one of the most important things. And you look at most people's answers, and that's what it is. Not everybody's though. Like Cassidy's was not a pivotal moment. It was just an iconic moment. But I didn't want us to have the last word on every one of these questions, so I saved someone else to answer. And we didn't get to Tristan yet. I want to know, you answered already? You're nodding. Okay, I'm sorry. That was a mistake of mine. What's up? Your hand's up. You didn't answer? I really thought I missed somebody. I did.
I did answer.
Yeah,
I wanted to throw in an honorable mention.
All right, yeah,
that
let's
I
get
think
that. Let's do
everyone
that.
could get behind. seismic charge.
Oh yeah. Soundbite. Yeah.
Yes.
Perhaps the most iconic soundbite of all time.
It fought hard.
Oh, you'll have to show it to you.
It's in Attack.
Well, it's in
Yeah,
Attack
you
of the
gotta listen
Clones,
to it.
in the
And,
Book of Boba Fett, and
yeah.
one other. But that's
Is it in Mandalorian? Does he drop in Mandalorian?
No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I think you're
There
thinking
is a
about-
third. There is a third one though.
I think it is in Mandalorian because when they're leaving, oh gosh, it's the Bill Burr episode. Doesn't he drop one there?
Yeah, that's true.
One?
That's true. It is in the Mandalorian. So that's the three.
Yeah.
He does it in the Book of Boba Fett, in the Mandalorian, and in Attack of the Clones.
So good.
For me as a kid, it was the TIE Fighter screaming by.
Yes, yeah, that's
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
iconic sound.
Yeah.
And the Wilhelm. Yeah, we love it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it.
Love sound.
Yeah. Well, Star Wars is full of iconic sounds, and the way they get some of those sounds is just astounding. You know, they had, and I hate that I'm not remembering his name. I'm gonna have to look it up because he's such an iconic part of Star Wars, and he's done so much for the movie. Because these movies wouldn't be where they are without their sounds, and you have in all of these movies so many iconic sounds that have resonated with us, like the TIE Fighter scream, like the seismic charge, and that's something that's continued on throughout Star Wars. And the creative ways that they were able to go and get these sounds is really, really impressive. Because, for example, the blaster sound was a guy walking up to basically a telephone tower and hitting the wire with a wrench.
Guide
And
wire.
that's how, the guide wire. And that is one of the most iconic sounds in all of cinema. And then we have the Wilhelm scream. That was like dug up out of some old archives for Star Wars specifically.
You hear it everywhere now.
Oh yeah.
Yes, exactly.
I didn't know Star Wars set that trend. I thought every movie did.
No. And the guy I'm referring to is Ben Burt, who is
Ben
just,
Burtt, yeah.
exactly. I knew Bill Burr was so similar to that like flashbanged my mind on this, and I couldn't think of anything else but Bill Burr. I was like, it's so close, but it's not Bill Burr.
Nobody remembers Uncle Ben.
And just how they would use real sounds and mix them together to make something totally different.
Yeah.
Yep. Some of the nastiest ones I've seen, you know how they made Jabba the Hutt sounds, the way his mouth sounds? They held a microphone up to a pan of lasagna and had someone rub their hand through it a bunch of times. And that's how they made Jabba's mouth sounds.
I'm never gonna eat lasagna the same again.
Carter's gonna be like, "Hey, honey, you want a pan of Jabba?"
So we have one more question before we go on to our next segments, because it would not be a Star Wars Station episode without a How the Force Works question and without a Star Wars moment of the week. And so we began with your first Star Wars memory. But now I want to get to the core of you as a fan. I want to talk about your best Star Wars memory. And so we'll go and we'll start off with Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo, Sai.
Whew. Hit me with the hard ball first. Man, this was a hard one. One of my favorite memories from Star Wars is with Father. We got to see Revenge of the Sith in theaters when I was like 5-6 years old. Really, I was young, and that one always resonated with me a lot. It's one of them because Father's gone now, so it's one of those things I can really look back on and reminisce about. But even more recently, some of my best Star Wars memories are here with everyone around this table, with you guys. We've all sat and watched some films together, a TV show or two. We've talked Star Wars back and forth. It's a big part of my life, and I'm just so thankful to have each and every one of you guys that are around this table that I've been able to share these memories with. It's almost impossible for me to pick a best memory, but if I had to, I'd go with the memories I've made with all you guys throughout Star Wars Station, through just getting to know you, and it's one of the many things we've all bonded over. And maybe even this might end up being one of my best, maybe my best Star Wars memory. This is a wonderful thing, and I'm thankful to each and every one of you guys. So thank you guys. You guys mean a lot, and thank you for all the memories, the best memories I've made with all of you.
Yeah, we appreciate that, Sign. We appreciate you coming on here and doing that. And that's true. I mean, honestly, at this table, some of these friendships only exist through Star Wars. I met Colin because of Star Wars. I met Josh because of Star Wars. I think you met Brian. Brian met you. You met Josh because of Star Wars. And so there's some thing that Star Wars brought a lot of us together, and that's an important thing to remember.
Well, I had the store where all of you Star Wars guys go.
Yeah. All right, Amelia, what about you? What is your best Star Wars memory?
All that up, Amelia.
yeah, I should not have started with Sai. That was a strong start.
Yeah, thanks, Sai. Well, I never got to see the original trilogy in theaters, way before my time. I didn't get to see the prequel trilogy, too small to understand, I guess. But my first Star Wars movie in theaters was Force Awakens, and that was the one that me and Carter and all our other high school friends, we went and saw it together at the theater. So yeah, I think that was my best Star Wars memory.
Yeah,
fantastic choice.
Yeah. First Star Wars movie in theaters, and I got to see it with a bunch of friends.
Yeah,
and I remember correctly, Carter saw it before, and he brought like a questionnaire to school.
That's
and
true.
Whoever
That's
got
true.
the highest score
is who I took to see The Force Awakens with me for the first time. I only took one person. Our buddy Ty won that questionnaire, actually.
Really? Ty won that?
Yeah, our buddy Ty. Me and Ty went and saw The Force Awakens midnight premiere first time together.
The fact that people were willing to fill out your questionnaire.
Teachers filled it out. It was like 70 plus people filled it out.
That's the most Carter thing I've ever heard.
The vast questionnaire. Yeah.
Survey says
Carter's a dork.
I'm going to drop a neat not lore, but like meta tidbit that y'all may not know. And I first thought it was heresy, but I'm pretty sure JJ and Ryan have come back
to say... We can't get through one episode without a 40K reference.
Okay. But I'm pretty sure JJ and Ryan have said this. In The Force Awakens, when Kylo Ren is speaking to Snoke, he telegraphs the name of the next two films. He says Luke is the Last Jedi, which I know it's interpreted differently, but he quotes Last Jedi, and then he goes on to say the new Jedi will rise, as in Rise of Skywalker. And I thought that was very cool, how it kind of slipped under our noses. And yes, this trilogy was not very well planned, but there were some tidbits around, so just thought I'd drop that little neat info.
Fun fact. We appreciate that. So what is you're on the mic now, so what is your best Star Wars moment? I keep drifting off into the wrong thing. What is your best Star Wars memory?
So my best Star Wars memory has got to be when you invited me to go see Rise of Skywalker. That was my second Star Wars film in theaters. I think my first was Rogue One. I'm pretty sure that was my only one before that. Which Rogue One was good. Fantastic movie. But I didn't... Like, I drifted from Star Wars a lot after around, like, my early teens, because I'm like, oh, I'm too old for Star Wars, but obviously that's wrong.
You learned better. Good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all go through that.
Yoda brought you.
And so just getting in the theater and seeing all these characters, and I straight up lied to you, Carter. I had not seen Force Awakens or The Last Jedi before. So that was my first experience, but I didn't feel lost, thankfully. So I just really enjoyed that film, and when Palpatine dropped that base of the lightning, I fell in love all over again, and I have to get back in this franchise. So I would like to say thank you, Carter, for making me love this franchise again for a second time.
Cool. Awesome. I did not know that. I did not expect that answer. That's awesome. What about you, Josh?
Okay. And
your best Star Wars memory.
Best Star Wars memory. Everyone's going that. It was when the Phantom Menace it was announced. I was like, oh, this is gonna be good. And then you go to the theater and it's just so much better. Plus you got nostalgia goggles, but as like, how old was I? Maybe 12 or something?
1999.
1999.
No,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, 99.
Yeah, so 14. I just remember going. I was like, the best part of that was Anakin at the end. He just, you call it Force, but I called it plot armor later. But, like, the Force is biased, and it wants Anakin to win everything. So he just gets in the fighter and just starts winning the war, in space.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, this is great. And then, back to the New Hope with that scene at the end. Oh, it's showing the medals. No, and like Anakin at the very end, and he's with Padme, and he's looking at her, and she's looking at him like, Older chicks. All right. No, that was my best. That was my best memory because when I was little, it was like Star Wars. It was already in my memories. Like, oh hey, why is the sky blue? It's blue because it's blue. And what's this? That's Star Wars. Like that's an orange. This is a fridge. This is Star Wars. It was already ingrained in me when I learned this, when I had memory. This I got to experience.
Yeah. Well, that's a good one. That's
one.
a really good one. The Phantom Menace is a lot of people's, I'm sure. It's a big moment in Star Wars history. Those movies coming out. Cassidy, what about you? What is your best Star Wars memory?
I think just like by default, because I am such a like recent Star Wars fan, recent as in like within the past 5 years, my best Star Wars memory is also my first Star Wars memory. So I won't take up too much mic time here because I've already explained it, but it was me and Carter while we were dating, and we were just spending a bunch of time just watching Star Wars, like all the time. But it was for me just a way to kind of get closer to him and just like get to hang out with him when we were going through our long distance relationship.
Yeah,
you didn't know there was a dark side. He introduced you.
Yeah, and now we talk about on our most recent episode about how you show your kids that one of your favorite things is Star Wars at the beginning of the year every year, and that all those kids really like that on your little teacher slideshow.
It's only there because I'm trying to be like relatable, and I know they like Star Wars.
Yeah, you're not supposed to say it. You're supposed to say, I love Star Wars. Oh, this is great.
Wars, it's a kid's show.
Dude, I can confidently say now that I do love Star Wars, but I want to take it back to earlier when you were talking about how we're all at this table today because we love Star Wars. I think I need to speak for all of us and say we're actually here at the table because we love y'all and we're very proud of you. So I'm just happy I can confidently say I love Star Wars now.
Yeah, I'm too.
Yeah, younger me would have like cringed at the fact that I was going to be this like Star Wars fan. I don't know.
We're glad to brainwashed it.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I can. This is making me like not. Yeah, no, just let me like it.
How about you, Brian? What is your best Star Wars memory?
Oh, so I've been with Star Wars for a long time, 46 years, something like that. So those first movies and then just the way The Empire Strikes Back hits got to be the best. But the way just Star Wars has just been my life pretty much. Because I started 6 years old, so everything I did was Star Wars. And then I hit that little brief period where I'm like, I'm too old for Star Wars. And then there I'm like, why did I not buy the rest of those toys I wanted when thought I was too old? So yeah, it's just the general feeling of everything, and everybody you get to know, and
your whole life's the best Star Wars moment.
And the whole life, yeah. When you're just one big nerd, you just kind of spin through space, let all these little other nerds spin around you. It's just great.
See, just because I'm on the podcast today does not make me a nerd, guy.
I
needed to clarify.
Take that badge. It's not a red.
There's a difference between being a nerd and being a dork. I will walk proudly in my dorkiness, but I am not a nerd.
Is she a geek?
No, that's even worse.
It's all the same to me.
No, it's
all
not.
to me.
It's like a nerd, but without as much knowledge, and you're more trendy.
Oh, she's pretty trendy. She's pretty trendy.
I feel like a geek is like the total, like stereotypical, like. I have a question. Like you can't
see her pointing her finger up in the air.
That's dorky. No,
excuse me.
That emoji with the buck teeth. That's that.
When I was growing up, that was dork.
Yeah, that's dork. Did it change?
Where's dweeb?
I don't know.
I totally derailed us. But
no, that's great because I'm like, I gotta check this now.
So there's one thing about the society now. Nowadays, society accepts the Star Wars and all of this.
Very much
Star
more
Trek
mainstream.
And stuff.
Yeah.
Whenever
just
I
don't
was
like
a
the
kid,
sequels.
you just didn't kind of,
No, you
didn't Star Wars out because everybody would be like.
That's what I'm saying. I would look at people in high school and be like, ooh, that guy is a Star Wars fan. And then now look at me, I'm freaking married to one.
Well, no.
Yeah, and I've got Star Wars posters up in my classroom, and kids are like, do you like Star Wars? I'm like, yeah, a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Yep.
Anyways.
I remember OG moments like, we were Star Wars when it was not cool to be a nerd.
Yeah.
Yes, that.
Yeah,
but now,
I understand.
Now we are the majority. I'm like,
nerd chic exists now. You're right.
You're right. Yeah, that's what I was saying.
Yeah, nerd chic is a thing. Tristan, what about you? What is your best Star Wars memory?
Yeah, so mine's probably like middle school, early elementary. The boys are over. Dr. Peppers are flowing. Chips. Battlefield 2 or Battlefront 2. You got everyone knows the intro.
Yeah.
It's electric. You know, it's got
That's gonna be great on the ears for people in headphones.
Everybody's doing their best impression. Yeah, so that's got to be it. Just late nights, you know, hiding from the parents, making sure they don't know that we're up that late at a sleepover, stuff like that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Heck yeah. That's a good one. That's a very good one. All right, Colin, what about you?
All right. So, you know, I've talked about a lot. You know, I bared my soul already on this one. I've talked about how there's past episodes where I watched Attack of the Clones probably more than a dozen times when I was in a tent in Iraq. That's a good one. I've already talked about today about sitting with y'all watching Rogue One and that Darth Vader hallway scene. But mine goes back to I've been very privileged and blessed. I've gone a couple of times to Walt Disney World in Florida, and so I dragged my family to Rope Drop, and we beat feeded all the way to Batuu.
Oh yeah,
and we were the first ones. And so it's just me and the Millennium Falcon in the background, and then it's just me and my family. No other person, no camera trickery, no nothing. We were there so early, the first ones there of just me and my family, no other soul in front of that Millennium Falcon.
what's the time frame look like for something like that?
7:30 in the morning.
It's 7:30.
Totally worth it too. I'm sure.
And then not only that, like 20 minutes after that, we had a reservation at Oga's Cantina. Spent the whole rest of the day drinking.
Yeah, 7:30, starting early on
Nice. You so much money's on the line. You party all day. We rode all the rides, built lightsabers. Dude, that lightsaber build experience is second to none.
You thought you walked away with 3 lightsabers, but then when your eyes focused, you realized it was just one.
I think I literally did that day. It's crazy.
Sales are going.
That's awesome.
Such a great time, and with my family the whole time too. We all got to ride the rides. Yeah, it's a magical place for a reason.
Yeah, absolutely.
Drank so much he thought he was talking to Greedo. Hey,
I got in trouble that trip.
Did you get the $5,000 drink?
No, that's only on the cruise.
That doesn't exist anymore.
Does it not?
The cruise doesn't exist anymore. They shut that one down. The Galactic
the
Star
drink was
Cruise.
too
Oh, it's on the cruise.
No, I'm talking about
the ship cruise. I thought you were talking about the Galactic Star Cruise.
I need to save up for that one.
Yeah, that long gone. You got to go watch a YouTube video if you want to be a canon junkie about that.
Where does the ship cruise take you?
It's just a
like
it's just
the
a
Sahara
Caribbean
Desert,
cruise.
They call it Tatooine.
Yeah.
Tunisia.
Yeah, you get to sail all the way to Tunisia. You know, you can. Luke's hut in Tunisia is a hotel you can stay in, and like a cheap one, like in the teens of dollars of U.S. dollars, like $20, and you can stay in the original Luke Skywalker hut. Yeah, but Tunisia is not a vacation destination, so that's a big part of it. You
Not
go
exactly
there, you
TV.
see that. I don't really know what else you're going to see. Apologies to any of our Tunisian listeners.
I think there's that eternal fire there, like the pit of hell or something like that, where it's that constantly burning
All those
flame,
spiders.
gas fire.
Yes, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. So I'll wrap us up here on this last question with my best Star Wars memory, and I've got a bunch of them, and a bunch of them with all of you guys here. But my best Star Wars memory has got to go back to just a couple years ago, and it involves Cassidy. And I did not think this was going to happen. I did not think that we were going to be able to get this done. But Cassidy, being the gracious wife she is, made the best day of my life a little bit better by letting us play the throne room theme as the recessional at our wedding.
Oh.
And she's maybe kicking herself because she didn't say this is the best moment, but that's okay because I wanted it for myself. And so that moment was really, really amazing for me. That music, the throne room theme, when I watch A New Hope, when I hear that music, for the rest of my life, it's going to be associated with how much I love Cass.
I hate that you said that because I did a similar thing at my wedding. I didn't say that.
Oh, no.
I'm in the
Oh, no.
Oh, boy, sleeping on the couch.
Well, we have to hear the story now.
Yeah, what'd you...
No, I mean, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
I came out to A New Hope.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, you thought you were in trouble at Disney World. Now you're really in.
No. Yeah, I'm done.
I'm done.
100%. Thanks, Carter.
And that concludes Colin's broadcast.
Yeah, we're looking for a new co-host. So
you got to prop me up. You're not getting away with that.
So that wraps up the meat of the episode, but as everybody knows, we got a couple more segments to go. We are going to take it away to Han Solo for 1 second so we can get the How the Force Works question.
That's not how the Force works.
This question is for all of us. This is the How the Force Works question submitted by our Patreon subscribers. This question comes from Patreon subscriber Loaf. And this question is, what is your favorite episode of Star Wars Station? And so this isn't memory. This isn't the moment you were on the podcast, unless that is your favorite episode for whatever reason. But of all the episodes we've put together, which one's your favorite? And I'm going to give everyone a chance to think about this for a second. So Colin and I are going to answer first. And so, Colin, what is your favorite episode of ours?
Man, I'm going to rip you off. I got to circle back to that first.
Yeah, I got to go to number one,
right?
It
off. You know, it really is. Man, there's been too many over the year. It's 100 episodes across 2 some odd years. It's crazy. I never thought we'd get here. You know, the ARC Troopers, like I said, was a good one. I'm trying to think. There's that Mark Thompson episode is going to be my favorite.
Yeah,
because we haven't been able to do anything like that since. It was we didn't expect to be able to do anything like that. There was a lot revealed on that podcast that you know, just gosh, that guy's such a talented individual that nobody knows, but they actually really do. Because if you listen to a Star Wars book, chances are you've heard him talk.
Yeah, you don't realize you know him.
Yeah, yeah. And so he's got such a range. He's able to do some Han Solo voices. And we didn't do it because out of respect, but what I really wanted after that episode was like, can you do this voice? Will you do that one for me?
Right.
Can you do this voice? Will you do that one for me? Like the whole cameo thing. I wanted to leave him a voicemail or something, my favorite character or something like that. So yeah, that's my favorite episode.
Yeah, no, that's a very good one. That's a
Maybe
really good one.
past the first, but yeah.
So my favorite episode of ours, this one, it's a newer-ish one. It's about halfway. It's episode 55. We were covering Ahsoka. We were covering the last episode of Ahsoka, The Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord. And we were like, oh my gosh, that episode was so great. Can't wait to talk about it. And when we sat down to talk about it, at the end, we looked up and didn't realize that we had recorded for 3.5 hours. And so it is our longest episode, and it honestly, I think, is maybe our best one. We have a deep dive in pretty much every scene of that episode.
Yeah.
We spend like 15 minutes on every scene of that
It never
episode.
feels that long.
No, never does.
It never feels. We'll go into episodes, and I'm sorry, quick aside, we'll go into episodes thinking this is going to take 5 minutes. We've looked up and it's an hour. It's crazy. It always happens, and it's a good thing.
Yeah, it is. We're always like, I don't know how we're going to be able to make this topic last this long. And then at the end of the day, it's always longer than we could have ever anticipated. And that one specifically, you know, I just never, we don't shoot for a 3-hour show. We shoot for an hour to a 2-hour show. And that one just ran away from us, but in the best way possible. And so I think it ended up being the best episode that we have. So now we're going to go around and we're going to ask best episodes. And so we're going to start out with.
Let me say one more.
Okay, sorry, Colin's got one.
Yeah, the one I recorded by myself because Carter was busy.
Yeah,
That's my favorite episode.
Monologue, the solo episode. Yeah.
It was the Lando Calrissian episode.
Yeah,
man, that one had some good moments. Talking about the Colt 45 beverage that what's his name? Who's the actor?
Yeah, Billy D. Williams.
Billy D. Williams. He go listen to that episode. I had fun making it. It's a good episode.
Yeah. I think it's a well listened to episode of ours too. You look in that number, it's in the higher half, I think.
Oh well, yeah. Hey, of course it is.
Is that the one where you texted me and said, "Hey, you want to do this episode?" And I'm like, "I haven't even watched it."
yeah, that may be. I don't know.
Yeah. All right, Si, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah. Your favorite one is episode 55.
Yeah.
You said. I believe mine was 54. It was for somewhat selfish reasons. I was on that episode right before the culmination of Ahsoka. We got to go over episode 7 and pretty much everything that had happened up to that point. And we did a ton. We had like a whole hour of just theory crafting of what was going to happen in this final episode. We talked at length about it, seeing Ezra and everyone being back. It was an awesome time. And it's hard for me to pick because I've been on a couple of different episodes.
Sai's our most
you guys
prolific
are so
guest
gracious.
star. He's been on the most episodes of anybody.
That one was one of my favorites, of course, because it was with both of you, and Ahsoka being favorite Star Wars character up there, tied with Bane, kind of on that deal. That was a great one for me, and we had a blast. We got to talk for hours at length, and it's one of those memories I definitely look back on fondly. It's up there, with all the RPG sessions and everything. I really appreciate you guys having me on for that one. So I'd say that's my favorite episode of Star Wars Station. Only half for selfish reasons.
That's a good one. That's a good one. No, when you asked if mine was 55, I thought you were just going to be like, mine's 66 because of Order 66. I don't even know what a 66 episode is.
Oh, man, I don't even know what it is, Order 66. Which one was 66? We should vote for
Yeah. What about you, Josh?
When you guys went to Amicon that first time,
Mm-hmm.
Now, how long was that episode? It was
that live show. Well, it's 2 days of a live stream, so upwards of 12 hours.
So I skimmed it, for obvious reasons. Yeah. But the lightsabers and just everyone coming by. Plus, when you go to conventions, it's to see all the cosplay, and you're like, oh, hey, I didn't see this person. Saw that person. And you just saw all the people there. No, that was great.
Yeah.
I was skimming through. Click.
Yeah,
that was the best.
Yeah, that was a very good episode. That was a lot of fun. Ethan, I think you've got one. What's yours?
Actually, I'm very mad at myself. I actually pulled up the Star Wars podcast because I do not remember which one it was. Also, episode 66 was y'all's Survivor's Quest Essential Legends collection review. In case
they sent us that, and that was the one. Yeah, that was not the Outbound Flight. The Outbound Flight tie-in book, Mara Jade, and that was a good book. That was a good book.
66 was about survival.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Survivor's Quest. Yeah.
Oh, there.
So, anyways, I already said my favorite, which was the Thompson interview. But my second favorite, and I'm so mad at myself because I cannot find the name, but it was around Easter because you just came back from our get-together, and I think y'all were talking about The Mandalorian, and you said just how much you were looking forward to Star Wars and how the tie-ins to the sequel trilogy. I'm sorry, I messed up about the sequel trilogy. I just like it. But, and you just said you were hopeful and looking forward to Star Wars. And as a person who grows on the internet, that is such an uncommon opinion these days. It is rare to see. So I would like to apologize for not knowing the specific episode number. But I do want to say thank you for having at least a positive opinion on these trying times for Star Wars fans. I like to.
Yeah, we try to stay positive here. I mean, at all Star Wars, we want more of it, and so we always try to stay positive here. And I appreciate that's well received.
Being negative is popular because it's that short path to a lot of money.
That is so true.
Clickbait stuff.
Literally the dark side.
It's the dark side.
Yeah, short path to power.
Easier.
Yeah.
It'll eventually run out. You'll run out of things to hate, and people will realize that you're just a shill to hate on everything.
Yep. How about you, Brian? What's your favorite?
I don't know the specific episodes, but I liked the when you were going over the Mandalorian series, especially in that area whenever the Mandalorian had the Darksaber and he couldn't figure out how to use it and he was trying to fight Vizsla. Yeah, just whenever we went over all that.
Those are good episodes because I feel like one of the things we struggle the most with is choreography breakdown because we're always like, this looks great. But that episode, we had some consistent choreography breakdown on what it meant and how that Darksaber was treating him. That one was very good. I enjoyed that one.
I was like, okay, that's pretty smart.
Yeah. What about you, Tristan?
Yeah, so I'm a little upset with Ethan because he mentioned it way earlier on in the show, but it is the Thompson episode. The reason being, I'm just such a big Audible fan. I have like 150 books, which if you have Audible, that's a lot of money invested into Audible. It's a lot of listen time. And Sai had actually put me on to the Star Wars books because he knew I was getting those credits every month. So yeah, hands down that. What a cool guest. I don't know how you snagged him.
We don't need that.
Yeah, we were so cool.
Carter called me and told me. He was like,
I was pumped.
I know you listen to Audible. Like, guess who I just scored? And so yeah, hands down that episode.
Yeah, I was pretty pumped about that one. What about you, Emilio? What's your favorite episode?
Well, there's so many. There's 100. Yeah. Okay.
Lots to choose from.
But my favorite one was the segment of How the Force Works. You guys answered Princess Leia's net worth. And I had no idea the amount of depth you guys went into.
I remember this because you asked that question, and I was like, how are we going to answer that?
Oh man, I don't even remember.
Did we come up with conversion?
We
rates?
did. We did
Is
math.
that on
We
it?
did all kinds of jumping through hoops to figure that out.
Y'all did like a film theory episode.
If you had to like compare her to modern day,
Yeah,
what
that's
what
what you
would
did.
be
Yeah,
the
that's
answer?
what.
I don't
Well,
even
I don't
remember
remember the
that.
answer now.
It was in the 30s.
Yeah, but yeah.
In the third episode 30 some odd somewhere.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Oh, I thought you said she had $30.
No, I don't remember how much money she
Net worth 30 credits.
So people know and scroll back and find it. I'd love to know exactly which episode. But we thought she was actually pretty poor, I want to say.
Yeah, we were a little surprised that she wasn't richer than we thought she
Yeah.
would be. Yeah.
Oh, not following Dave Ramsey,
Exactly.
baby.
Well, her planet was blown up.
Yeah,
All
she
her
lost a lot of
generations
money
were
in
blown
that.
up.
So I was curious, is that post or pre Planet
We did
Annihilation?
after. We did after Alderaan's valuation. Because if you're royal, you know, I mean, do you have everything there?
That's liquid assets.
Yeah.
But hey, employment went to zero after that explosion.
No unemployment.
Yeah.
Best place to be.
Unemployment. My bad. Unemployment.
All right, Cassidy, what about you? You're rounding us out very last on what is your favorite Star Wars Station episode.
So I think I was looking at it actually to figure out what number it was on Spotify, but I can't remember what was the animated show, and it was like a series of shorts, and they were all done
Vision.
in a different art style.
Vision Season 2, probably.
That was very cool for me to watch because it didn't seem like super Star Warsy to me, but at the same time it was. And so getting to hear you guys talk about it more in depth was really cool too. But I will admit, like I live with Carter, so we do a lot of our own talking about Star Wars. So I don't always watch, the same night that I've just heard them recording in the other room. So I get confused about what is what on the podcast. But yeah, I think just getting to hear y'all talk about like all the different art styles because I thought it was so unique.
Sure. Yeah, well, I'm happy that you liked that one. Visions was a good episode. Those are good episodes because they're so unique. And also a topic of conversation in like, we have just things that come up all the time that they come up every month. Empire at War, Adam Christopher's Shadow of the Sith book, and The Elder from Visions. Wouldn't be a Star Wars Station episode if we didn't mention one of those. And so for this one, we got to mention all three.
Yep.
So that wraps up our How the Force Works question. We've now got, we're skipping the HoloNet news. We don't have any news to talk about because we're recording this on the same day we recorded the 99th episode because I need time to edit this. And so any of the news for this week was covered in the 99th episode. So no HoloNet news, but we do have the Star Wars moment of the week. So let's hop right into the Star Wars moment of the week.
We would be honored if you would join us.
A lot of folks here to talk about their Star Wars moment of the week. It is something that's happened to you, could be the smallest part of your week. You heard someone mention a piece of dialogue from Star Wars. You heard anything about Star Wars this week. And so we're here to ask each and every one of you what your Star Wars moment of the week is. And so we're going to dive right in and begin asking with Cassidy.
Thank you for picking me first because my favorite or my Star Wars moment of the week is this right now. So now anyone else who says it.
Everyone else is like, that's my Star Wars moment of the week.
So thanks for picking me first.
Brian was excited for that. Josh has got one. Josh knows.
So it happened today, and it's just like, oh, Star Wars. I was thinking of it. So I was cutting down my mom's tree, and chainsaw, just going to it. I was like, not even a tenth of the way through it. Man, I need a lightsaber.
It'd be a lot easier.
At first, I was thinking Homelander, fly, little laser eye, but now I got more realistic, and I was like,
more realistic.
Yeah. I was like, teach Homelander how to tree trim. I'm like, nah, it's not realistic. Me with the lightsaber, that is realistic.
There's one Star Wars moment of the week that we all have all the time when we get to those doors that open automatically and we do that. Force
yes.
thing.
Oh, yes.
We open with
Every
our
day
force,
at work.
wave the hand like Obi-Wan.
No, when you're driving, you have to stop that stop sign.
Oh, I actually do that
Didn't
with.
work
I'd
for me,
actually do that
actually.
with the traffic every once in a while. I'm
No,
just
it
like,
didn't work.
Oh, dang.
left,
Yeah.
right.
Wait, did you do it and then?
Yeah.
No, I got in an accident.
Dude. Do you remember trying to stop it?
Oh, yeah, I did it the other week. Tried to stop it. Parking lot finger
There you
grenade.
go.
No,
No, it wasn't. Wasn't at all. It was not a tune.
Force and went for the force. Should have gone for the horn.
If only you fell to the dark side.
All right, so Brian's is the door, I assume.
Well, that except for actually, I got one of the Star Wars RPG books, and I only like one more having every Star Wars RPG book for the Fantasy Flight.
Yeah, that is so impressive. You're an avid collector of those.
It's a big stack.
Yeah.
The only one
Yeah,
that's
it
left
is
is
a
out
big
of print
stack.
and very expensive. I'm just like,
It's the
Which one
last
is it?
one. It's your holy grail,
lead by example. It's for commanders.
which we don't have in our party.
So we
it's
don't
hard
have
to
anybody
justify.
chomping at the bits for it. So I'm just like,
Yeah.
So I'm not going to worry about it. But I thought that was because
You know, we've got it's one of our more expensive Patreon grabs, but if you are a Patreon member for long enough at a high enough tier, then you can be a guest on the RPG. And so if we have someone go on the Patreon, they could maybe pick the Commander book, and then all of their Patreon money will probably just go to buying that Commander book.
Yeah, last time I saw that sucker's like $150.
Yeah, yeah. And like you said, it's
And
out of print.
I want to spend 30, 40, 50 at the max, and not 150.
Yeah, yeah. But getting all of those is pretty cool. And that the RPG was basically incepted by Brian. He texted me one day, "Did you want to would you play a Star Wars RPG?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then like probably 5 minutes later, I was like, "If we record it for the podcast," because I could just see, I was like, "This is perfect. This will be so great." And I knew that we'd have a good time. And we got a good cast of characters for it.
I thought the podcast was because we started RPGing.
No, the RPG came about because of the podcast.
Yeah, no, but that was yeah, but the first time was like, oh, okay, do RPG and then record it. That'd be awesome. Let's do that.
Yeah, no, it was, I was just like, we're going to do this. We need to sit down and we're going to do everything we're already doing in front of a microphone. And so it worked out.
Who's the most skilled player in the RPG?
It depends on what you mean by
I'd say Q-Top.
Yeah.
This guy can hack any computer there is.
Yeah.
You just opened a can of worms.
Right here. We got a good pilot
Excess
there, though.
is our miracle roller, though.
Excess is the
Yeah,
miracle
yeah,
roller.
once, not consistently like
What
you
for?
did.
Pilot. We got kind of a scoundrel in Zell here. He's always doing something. Talk to his ex-girlfriend.
Yes. Yeah, that was fun. That was a fun session.
And we have, of course, the
Late
force
night
sensitive
phone
bit.
calls.
Everyone
Yeah,
has
we got
their
force
own.
sensitive.
Beat up.
So what do you talk about Miracle Roller? Because I rolled so good on those Starship things.
Yeah, on your Starship signs. Yeah.
You made an impossible check.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was.
It really was.
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, we were all screaming at that one. Like, no.
That was awesome. Super cool.
No, that was the best because Cy was like, and he
Yeah, I
made
rolled
the
that, and Cy's
impossible.
like-
Now I have to make him give him something.
Yeah, now I gotta give it to him. But that's that's one of the things you love too. Like you set up something, it's like they're not gonna get this, and then they do get it. It's awesome when that happens.
was meant to
too.
be.
It's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Ethan, what about you? Star Wars moment of the week.
I'm actually going to borrow what you said. I'm pretty sure it was this week. I'm going to feel embarrassed if it wasn't. When we talked about celebrations and how integral or not integral it is to Star Wars. And I'm not going to comment much about the conversation we had, but I just think it is fascinating how different points of view can be taken from Star Wars. And I think that was just a nice, neat little moment. And that's what I really thought about. Like, man, you can really look at Star Wars in so many different angles. And I think a lot of it plays to when you were born, like if you grew up with the originals or the prequels or the sequels, but I just think it's interesting how different ways you can interpret it.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, Emilio?
Star Wars moment of the week. Well, on my Instagram feed, I get a lot of Star Wars stuff. However, I did get something that I did not know was that the actor who played Jar Jar Binks, he is also in an episode of Mandalorian where he saves Baby Yoda.
Yeah.
I did not know that. I saw that on my Instagram Reels, and I was like, what? There's no way. And it was. It's true.
Yes, yeah. Keller and Beck is who he plays. Ahmed
The
Best.
sabered hand.
Yeah. He's very cool. Very cool.
He used to be on a TV show, didn't
Yeah,
he? Way
There's
back.
that Star Wars game show.
Yes, a Star Wars
Yeah.
game show. That character is from that game show.
Yeah.
And was made canon in The Mandalorian. It's pretty interesting.
I never even heard of it until he came out of the
Yes,
story.
yeah.
And then everybody's talking about it.
Yeah, it was a web series for two years on the Star Wars YouTube channel. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's a kids game show, like a Nickelodeon kind of game show. Like not little kids,
like
but
Slime.
also not like adults. It's, like teenagers. And so, yeah, it's kind of like a getting slimed thing. They're running Jedi obstacle courses.
They dropped Bantha Poodoo on them.
Yeah, exactly. It's like an American Ninja Warrior, but for kids. All right, Tristan, what about you? Star Wars moment of the week.
Yeah, mine's also
Okay,
Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah, Star Wars moment of the week. I'm also shout out the Instagram. I don't know the handle, so I'll let you say it. But y'all are at like
We're at 40,000. We're at 40,000 now. Yeah.
Followers. So I'm always flooding.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
inbox.
He's a big submitter
So check
of some
that
of our
every once in a
stuff.
while.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I love that. I love the Star Wars meme.
Yeah, they're fun.
I saw a funny one where it's like instead of land on Tatooine, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon land on Endor, and they're like, I found it's there in front of an Ewok. The Ewok's in front of it. I found divergence in the Force, and it's an Ewok. So funny.
It is funny.
Have you guys seen the safety inspection of like the Death Star or whatever?
Oh,
Those
yeah.
are like my
Yeah.
favorite YouTube videos where safety audit.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Going back to the iconic Clerks argument, right? If the Death Star 2 had contractors or not.
I saw a pretty good meme the other day. There's the Death Star. You're trying to get around to get the Yavin base, and the guy's just like, "Why don't we just shoot the planet and go through the planet?" Oh yeah, okay, movie over.
Movie over. All right. Well, Colin and I are accepted from Star Wars Moment of the Week also because we already answered it on our 99th episode.
I can answer
All right,
this
go
one.
ahead.
My Dark Millennium Falcon arrived.
Oh, wow. Really? Did it really? Yeah, you
Yeah.
didn't. I can't believe
I think
that
I heard
wasn't your
today.
99th moment. Did it get between the two episodes?
I've got a bunch of it. I just pile them up. They're in the queue.
Yeah, you just got them sitting in the back, huh?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Well, then look, I can give one because yesterday we got our copy of the latest Star Wars book, Mace Windu: The Glass Abyss, early. And so
Yes.
we're on an embargo. We're not allowed to review that until October 1st. But I haven't dove in yet. I plan to dive in right after this week. We've got a big weekend coming up. And then after that, I'm going to dive right in, read that book, write the review, and get ready because I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Yep.
There's
It's gonna be a good
I mean, it's a returning author who had previously authored a Star Wars book, The Cestus Deception, way back in the early 2000s. His name is Stephen Barnes, and he's returned for this Mace Windu book, and it's going to be really, really good.
Yep. Looking forward to that one in a major way.
Yeah, I'm anticipating that.
Has there been anything else that like dives deep into his character?
No, not in canon. There's a Mace Windu comic book that's like 5 issues long about how when he was a Padawan, but it's not. It's a very small dive. So this is the big Mace Windu piece of canon.
This one's going to be a big deal.
Yeah, I'd be interested to listen to y'all's episode on.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I can't wait for that one. So that wraps up our episode for today. We really, really appreciate everybody sitting around this table. We appreciate you guys just coming around to chat Star Wars because that's why this podcast was incepted, for us to talk about Star Wars. That's all we wanted to get out of it. That's what we've gotten out of it and so much more. And so we really, really appreciate everybody coming together and all of your involvement here. It's been an awesome ride. We're excited to continue making Star Wars content. We're excited to keep having all of you guys as support and continue working with y'all, having y'all on as guest stars, and continuing the RPG and everything else we do here at the Star Wars Station.
Yeah. Gosh, this was really great. I couldn't have thought of anything better.
Yeah, we batted around a couple ideas, and in hindsight, just nothing holds a candle to what we did today.
Yeah, yeah. We do have a lot of good ideas, and we want this to grow. We want to be better. We want to go to a Star Wars Celebration. We want to go as a gang to Walt Disney World. That'd be fun. Yeah. But more precisely, we're going to hold like our local Star Wars festival. We batted around that idea a few times, and all of our friends would be instrumental in that. At the basic level of just kicking around ideas or something like that. And I hope we can deliver that to y'all someday.
Yeah, absolutely. So we appreciate everyone listening. We're looking forward to the next 100. And, you listen to this episode, you know where to find us. We're on social media. Instagram, Instagram at StarWars.station, Twitter at SW_station, Twitch, Discord, Facebook. You can check us out there. Patreon, our website.
StarWarsStationPodcast.com. That was my other moment of the week. I'm getting some more stickers. I think you designed them or conceptualized them. They're designed and they're on the way.
New Star Wars stickers coming to the page.
Yep.
Check those out right in time for the 100th episode. Get you a sticker. Yep. Subscribe to the Patreon, patreon.com/Star Wars Station. All kinds of content. You've heard a lot about the RPG on this episode. So after listening to this episode, just pay that $2 and give it a shot because that is fully produced with video. Not even this podcast was produced on video. That one we record video live, and it's only accessible through the Patreon. So definitely continue to check out the RPG, check out all of our content, And we couldn't have made it without the listeners. We appreciate you guys so much. We appreciate y'all with the feedback, with submitting questions on the Patreon, with engaging with us on Instagram. Just sending us stuff to share on Instagram helps more than you could possibly imagine. So we appreciate everyone listening. We appreciate y'all so much. And we appreciate you staying wizard.
Whoa, I think we should do it like in sync, like all of us.
Okay,
stay
look, all
wizard.
right. Everyone's still recording, so let's do it.
Okay.
All right, I'll hold up my hand, and on when I put it down, we'll do it, okay?
Stay